The serenity of northwestern Connecticut has attracted vacationers for years. But on a summer's weekend, for the past 6 years, the tranquility at Lime Rock Park has been shattered by the battles for American Le Mans Series championships.
You can't be patient now. If the door opens, you got to put it in there.
Oh, Brennan gets the lead, and Timo Bernard spins. Look at this, almost three abreast down into one, and Brennan both Corvettes go through on the inside.
He's by. That looked almost easy.
Same spot. Inga does it again.
Oh! And on Ronafal have a problem with the GT2 car. That's a 23 car. He just loses it big time. I don't think there's any contact there, but there's the contact.
Oh, big shot.
The beautiful Berkshire Mountains of northwestern Connecticut, the home of Lime Rock Park. The park, as it's known, has hosted world-class road racing since 1957, and we have beautiful weather here today for Speed's live coverage of Round 5 of the American Le Mans Series in 2010, the Northeast Grand Prix. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, Jamie Howe, and Chris Neville. And Dorsey Schrader, I know, has certainly raced at Lime Rock Park before. He has won here. And Dorsey, I think you probably have crashed here once or twice as well. But tell the folks at home, what is it about Lime Rock Park that keeps the crowds coming back year after year, and what makes it so challenging for the drivers?
Well, Lime Rock Park is action-packed. I mean, it's the shortest circuit that the American Le Mans Series races on at just 1.5 miles in length. Couple that to the high-speed nature of this place, and you have nothing but action. Best passing place is down into turn 1. That's not to say that they won't take attempts all the way around the racetrack. And playing well in traffic is what they need to do. Will they do it? Probably not. The other part of this is your pit stop strategy. By the time you slow your race car down, get it into pit lane to your stall and get back out, that's 30 seconds. Add 25 seconds more for tires if you put a new fresh set on. And fuel, you're going to have about a 70-second pit stop by the time you're done. Problem is, prototype cars lap here in 48 seconds. If you stop under green, you're going to go a lap down. More on the prototype story. Let's talk to my buddy here, Calvin Fish.
Well, Dorsey, certainly the bragging rights here today in the prototype class could come down to the two locally based teams, Highcroft Racing and Dyson Racing. Highcroft have a great run going here at Lime Rock. They won here in 2008 and overall, and they also had the lead here late in the going last year until a puncture really spoiled the party. For Dyson, well, they've been winning races here since the mid-80s. But when we look at the head-to-head battles this year, it has certainly been sensational stuff. Here at Long Beach, David Bram gets around the Dyson car on his way to Highcroft's first victory of the season. A few weeks later at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, here it is, Guy Smith taking the Dyson Mazda-powered car around the outside of Marino Franchitti to take the lead. Unfortunately, mechanical gremlins late in the going cost them the chance of victory. But it's not just between these two teams here today. Klaus Graf yesterday in qualifying was simply sensational, sliding his way around this racetrack to claim an outside berth on the front row. But this is not the only battle out here today. For more on the GT class, let's get down to Jamie Howe.
Well, Calvin, the GT storylines so far in 2010 have really written themselves. There are more cars, more teams, and more manufacturers. So far, though, it's been between the number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari of Jimmy Bruni and Jamie Malo and the number 45 Flying Lizard Porsche of Jörg Bergmeister and Patrick Long. Today, it's the Lizard starting on pole, but it's Risi who leads the championships. In the manufacturer standings, BMW holds the point. They're the only manufacturer to finish on the podium in each race of the season, so don't count them out. The battles are intense, and it's still an open championship, but for more on the rest of the field, here's Chris Neville.
Well, it's a rare occasion that a points championship leader pulls out mid-season, but because of philosophical differences between Juan Gonzalez and Alex Job, the 80 and the 81 will not start today. In their absence, that gives the opportunity to Henri Rijard and Andy Lally to potentially leave with the championship points lead. And don't overlook the Black Swan car. They've won the last 2 races, and they're charging up that points chart. In LMPC, Christophe Bouchou and Scott Tucker had an 11-point lead after their victory at Salt Lake City. But in this morning's practice, Bouchou severely damaged the 55. That car will not start, so Tucker and Bouchou will likely be split in the championship. And keep an eye out for Gunnar Jeanette in the 99. He is second in the points, but will have to charge through the field after shifter problems in qualifying.
Wow, the story's starting already. We have not even dropped the green flag yet, and the weather has cooperated today. It has been raining all weekend long. Let's take an opportunity while we have it to introduce you to our 4 class pole sitters.
Simon Pagenaud from Montmorillon, France.
Hi, I'm David Brabham, and you know where I'm from. Earth.
Christophe Bouchu, Paris, France.
Scott Tucker, Leawood, Kansas.
Hi, I'm Patrick Long from Oak Park, California, currently living in Clearwater, Florida.
Hi, I'm Jörg Bergmeister from Langenfeld, Germany.
Hi, I'm Jerome Bleekemolen and I'm from the Netherlands.
Hi, I'm Tim Pappas from Boston.
They're your class pole sitters, and need to talk about Christophe Bouchu and Scott Tucker. The 55 qualified on the pole. That probably adds a little more insult to the injury there, Calvin.
It does, and as Chris mentioned, Scott Tucker will see action today in the 95 machine. Christophe Bouchu will not, so you'd have to assume there will be no points on the board for Bouchu at the end of the day. And if Tucker can get that car to 70%, he'll leap ahead in the standings.
Well, guys, yesterday was a completely wet day, so there was no dry running here. So this morning was the only time that teams could work on their setups. A lot of these teams are saying that it could be 10 or 15 laps into this race to see if they nailed that setup. So this early going to this race is going to be very interesting to see. Did you hit it or did you miss it?
That's going to be a wild one today. As Chris just said, no dry running. We'll have our outboard shots for you. We're going to have onboards as well. The number one, the Highcroft entry, the Ferrari there, Extreme Speed Motorsports. 16, the Mazda entry from Dyson, and then the LMP Challenge car, the 95, Andy Wallace on board in both BMWs, so we'll have some great shots for you there. Through the downhill, looking for green. Side by side, on the pole, up front, the one, and you hear green, 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 the green flag waves. The governor of the state of Connecticut waves the green flag, and we're racing, and John Field, it's loose there, and Dyson in the 16 takes over the points.
Wow, there you saw the turbocharged cars just go straight to the front there. Dyson leads the way, Chris Dyson, but look at this, Johnny Cocker looking for a way through in the Drayson machine, the pole-sitting car, all the way back to fourth, just as we saw at Miller.
Cold tires right now, guys, not up to pressures yet either. The car's darting around a lot. You got to give a little bit of extra credence in these brake zones.
You saw John Field there really squirrely under braking. He's run the harder compound Dunlop tire here to start the race. Hopefully it'll come good longer in the run.
Dyson knows this track well. They consider it their home track, and he will lead lap one as Dyson out of the West Bend hairpin, or chicane, I should say, through the downhill and onto the front straightaway. Does Johnny Cocker have anything for him? The V10 singing in the back of the Lola into the braking zone for one.
Chris blocks to the inside, takes the defensive line there. Cocker looked for the long way around, but couldn't make it stick. This is a big problem for Simon Pagenaud with the straight line speed, Dorsey, of these turbocharged cars up front. It's going to be a long day for Simon.
No question about that. And you can make an outside pass in Big Bend down in turn one here if you can stick it alongside.
I just checked in with Michelin, guys. The track temperature right now, 110 degrees. You mentioned it rained all weekend long. The highest in any session up until right now was only 88 degrees. So very different conditions for all of the teams right now when it comes to tire strategy.
And that really is a problem for these tire manufacturers. Right now we have Dunlop leading from Michelin, from Dunlop from Michelin. And a lot of times these teams will run a slightly softer compound on the right side and a harder compound on the left side, because the predominantly right-hand corners, the left side really takes most of the wear and most of the load. So there's really been a gamble right now amongst the engineers on what do you run. Yesterday was effectively rained out. Some of these cars are new configuration. They don't know what to run. They don't know what they're going to see 20, 30 minutes into this event.
Johnny Cocker continuing to press Chris Dyson. Two very different cars, one to an LMP category configuration, the other to an LMP1, so different weights on these two cars, different power plants as well. The battle rages in GT as well. There's the 45, real loose, and he made contact with the 89 LMP Challenge car, and you can tell that it is wet. That is indeed the 45 there. Patrick Long behind the wheel in the 89. The LMP Challenge car looks like he got the worst of it. Brian Wong in the 89.
This was a big concern for the Flying Lizard team this morning. I spoke to Thomas Bland, their strategies. He said, I'm really concerned about our grid position. Yes, we're on the pole, but we're right in the mix of the LMPC cars, and our car will probably come to alive a little bit faster.
Wow, Johnny Cocker, I think, guys, he has the faster car. He's just Chris Dyson running on the inside. Cocker's got to go the long way.
Track's going to be wet up here. You saw all of that water come out of Wong's car as he came onto this no-name straight on the back. It's going to be damp.
You can see all the water to the outside. If you put a wheel off here today, you're either going to find a wall or you're going to find a swamp. Looking back, right now, it's Dyson over Johnny Cocker, John Field, and Simon Pagenaud. That one had started on the pole. That beautiful green and black Patron Highcroft entry started on the pole, has dropped to fourth. The battles from Lime Rock Park, round 5 in the American Le Mans Series, they have heated up from the very drop of the green. Stay with us. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and by New Finish, tough enough to be called the once-a-year car polish. It is a beautiful day indeed here at Lime Rock Park, and we have a new leader, the number 8, the green, the coupe, the Lola, powered by the big V10 and back. Johnny Cocker behind the wheel, sharing that with Lord Paul Drayson. Cocker has gotten past Chris Dyson, and now he has set sail, guys.
Chris Dyson has got a problem with the car. Take a look at how this all sets up as they come down the front straightaway here. Dyson, of course, the 16 car to the inside. In the brake zone, he's starting to have difficulty. Look at the back of the car on fire. That's coming straight out of the exhaust pipe, out of the turbocharger. I think what we can probably expect to find out is that the car has lost its turbocharger.
16 on pit road. Jamie.
Well, I'm at the other end of pit lane. I just watched the car pull down the pit road and then head down to see if I can find anything out. But I think you might be right, Dorsey. This team certainly not having the luck at their hometown track they were hoping for.
Well, when you see that flame on a turbo car right coming out the back, the turbocharger is just short proximity in front of that exhaust tailpipe. And with all of that fire coming out, usually it's a turbocharger seal that goes bad, and then it starts feeding itself oil. The oil burns, obviously, and the turbocharger would need to be replaced. That's a lengthy deal. I don't know that they'll even attempt that.
Know anything yet, Mike? What, you see anything? No, I don't see anything. A little bit of oil.
Big disappointment for this team. They won the P2 class here last year. Of course, P2 and P1 is now running in level 1 prototype class this year.
Straight, and all of a sudden the power just started to drop. It wasn't like it tightened up or anything, but it was like sort of like the boost just started slowing down.
Yep.
Whether it was a spark problem.
I think you're right, Dorsey. It sounds like a turbo. He said it just felt like the boost started going down, and that's going to happen as the turbo goes away.
There's other things that it could be as well, but that's a classic first sign of a turbo failure like that, when it just starts to belch straight flame out the back. They'll look around and probably restart it on pit lane and come to some conclusion. There's other things it could be too, but that's my first guess.
And certainly disappointment for this team. They did not have a particularly good finish at Salt Lake City, where they lost the shaft on an oil pump, and that dropped them out. They did not finish there. So disappointment for Johnny Cocker, though. This is how tight it is. 4 classes working here on the mile-and-a-half bull ring that is Lime Rock Park. You see Cocker working past the BMW and one of the Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferraris.
BMW's trying to recover. They qualified very poorly in the wet here yesterday, but were 1-2 in this morning's warm-up session. They have a lot of pace, but bad track position. They're going to have to work some strategy magic, I think, to get to the front.
Lime Rock is a racetrack, is a track that you need the utmost of patience. It's a high-speed chess game around here. You're always going to have traffic all day long, like we said. And the trick is stay out of the pitfalls of Lime Rock. In other words, don't let yourself get slowed up in an area where it's going to take half a lap to get around. The only way you can do that is adjust your speed for the flow of traffic.
You can see Pat Long really working the wheel there, coming off Big Bend, and Jamie Mello has got around Wolf Hensley, puts the Risi Competizione Ferrari, the championship leaders, up into second spot. And remember, they have a 2-point advantage over Long and Bergmeister in the championship, having taken the lead with their win at Miller recently.
You see the corner worker waving furiously back there, that blue flag. That's the passing flag. His arm will fall off before this day's over if he doesn't take a break.
Hensler dropped back to third. You see Johnny Cocker working through the GT field already, putting them a lap down. Hensler with a great qualifying run in the rain, but the team had not been here with their tires last year, so this was a brand new deal. Without any dry running yesterday, a bit of a disadvantage for the Falcon guys. Chris?
Well, the Castrol 16 still sitting on pit lane here. They just hooked the laptop up to the car. They're trying to get a download from the ECU. The team's saying that they're thinking about changing the ECU and trying to get it back out on the racetrack. But guys, they are down so many laps right now. It's all about just diagnosing what is wrong with this car, getting it back out there, and seeing if they can potentially try and keep the car going. It's not going to come down to a result. It's just trying to figure out what is the issue so we don't see it later in the year.
Well, our guy Bubba Clark just told me he'd listen in on that radio and said that they tried to download that ECU. It came up blank with nothing. So now they're also trying to repair or replace the PC to see if they can get something out of that car. But I don't think they're going to get what they want.
Johnny O'Connell on the back of the 17, then followed by the 61. Pierre Caffer and Mika Salo returning to American Le Mans Series competition for Risi Competizione this weekend, and certainly they are not showing any signs of rust from their layoff.
Well, I talked to Wolf Hensler in that number 17 Falcon Tire Porsche right after the morning warm-up, and they were significantly down in the timesheets following that practice session. And Wolf told me, you know, I'm going to make the other GT competitors fight for it. I'm not just going to pull over for them, but I'm not going to be overly aggressive either. We're not in this championship. We're still really developing the tire and trying to figure this thing out. So I'm not going to be overly aggressive, but they are going to have to earn it.
One thing we know about the Falcon tire, it's got a good rain tire, doesn't it, boys? Is that car was sitting on top of the sheets in the rain. It really put some numbers down.
This is the story of Lime Rock Park. Look at Pagano trapped in traffic. GT car in front of him. You saw the 63 GT Challenge car in there as well, and this is costing Pagano dearly.
It really is, and the problem is he's got a normally aspirated engine. He doesn't have the grunt of some of the other prototype cars, so he's going to fight his way around these cars with a bit more difficulty than the big turbochargers that really just light those engines down this straightaway here and just blast by everyone down the front straightaway.
And the HPD package is a
problem
momentum.
for the 37.
Yeah, I saw some smoke as he came down the downhill.
Oh,
here's a
big
crash.
problem for the 23. One of the Alex Job entries, Bill Sweedler behind the wheel.
Now this will probably give us a full course caution. As you can see, it's burst the radiator on the front end. He's made contact both front and rear.
One thing that Bo Barfield, the chief steward, told me this morning was he'll try and protect the GT class. He doesn't just want to throw the pace car out there and ruin the battle for GT. He's got to look at where the overall leader is, where is the pack of GT cars before he goes yellow, unless there's a big issue.
Trying to see where that car is. It was kind of hard to tell there. This is John Field, which we saw the smoke come out of early, and he is in trouble as he's limping his way back toward pits.
I don't know
Pits
what
are
I got
closed
wrong.
right now.
Can you guys see on the monitor?
Well, Dorsey, listening to the 37, John Field reporting to the team that he has a puncture. He's going to be bringing that car to pit lane. So this full course caution couldn't have happened at a better time.
Well, good news for John Field. We talk about coming to the pit lane here costing you a lap. But remember, when we do go full course caution, the pits will be closed until they can get the field sorted out and get it gathered up. So John Field is going to have to circulate around
make it into pit
with
lane
that
or
cut down
not?
tire. But interestingly enough, I don't see one on the left side. All the tires seem to be up.
No, it looked up, but he smoked the tire going down the downhill, and he knew immediately something was wrong.
I don't
Maybe
see
it's
a
not
puncture,
tire.
guys.
No, he doesn't have a flat tire, that's for sure. Some kind of other issue. We'll try and sort this out.
John Field suffering a bit here at Lime Rock Park, as is Bill Sweedler, who's gone off at the downhill. The first full course caution of the day, but for Johnny Cocker, things are really looking up indeed, and things are heating up from round 5 of the American Le Mans Series in Lime Rock Park. The crowd has turned out in force at Lime Rock Park under great skies here, and they were even here yesterday in inclement weather. Lime Rock Park always draws a great crowd, especially when the American Le Mans Series in town. Under full course caution the first time, and cars on pit road.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, start it up.
This was a big call for the Flying Lizard boys. Remember, they had the lead in this race. You never want to give up track position, but by stopping now, they should be able to do it on just one more stop. They're saying they can do it about 70 minutes on a full fuel load. So obviously the strategy is playing out early. Chris, you're at Corvette.
Hey guys, the Lizard car came out of pit lane in the lead, but the Ferrari, the Risi car, and the 90 BMW got together in pit lane. It is so tight down here that all those cars are coming in and trying to get out. Cars are coming together.
Everyone we've spoken to said it is going to be a full contact sport. I saw the front of the 3 Corvette with some damage on it as well. They're even fighting in pit lane.
They certainly are, but with those pit stops, it looks like right now the strategy was fuel only. I didn't see anybody change any tires, but as Chris said, it is extremely tight down here today.
37 cars in, so they stayed out there.
Tire down.
Yeah, and John Field bringing the car here. They're going to take a look at this left front corner. He thought the tire was down, but it looks like maybe there's potentially some suspension damage from a little bit of contact out on the racetrack. And the tough thing about this team, they run on a little bit smaller budget, so they cannot monitor tire pressures.
We'll do it here, so grab one, and we'll do it right here.
Talking about a broken camber plate. That's from contact that he made with.
Camber plate's broken, so we'll have to change that.
You can actually
Give
see
a minute. It's going back
damage
right now.
here, where he made side-to-side contact with the Porsche up in the wall down on the downhill over there.
We understand the 16 going behind the wall as well. There it is. So their day appears to be done. It'll be interesting to see if they can get him back out. If it's a turbo, that may be another thing altogether. Crew going to work on the suspension of the 37. Let's take a look at why we're under caution. Bill Sweedler in the 23 at the downhill. Take a look back here.
Oh, and that's where John Field just turns the Porsche. Sweedler nowhere to go. That's a high-speed impact down there.
And Bill Sweedler and Romeo Caputia third in the GTC championship, so disappointing for them for certain. And that may be what did the damage to John Field's car.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
that's the damage for sure. And on board with Simon Pagenaud there, he had a bit of a moment. When you lift off in those high-speed corners, it can really unsettle the cars.
You know, the American Le Mans Series has always been known for its impact on green racing, its desire to go green. And this past week in New York City, they unveiled yet another step in the greening of racing in the United States, North America, and the world all over. In New York City, certainly Corvette was there, the LMP challenges of the G Racing or G Oil Racing, but what about Porsche's latest entry into green racing?
Of New York City, Rouge Tomate here, which is a very environmentally efficient restaurant. We're talking about hybrids. The hybrid behind me will be coming to the Petit Le Mans in October. First time that this car will settle on the U.S. soil, and a big race to be at.
Today's announcement of the Porsche Hybrid competing at Petit Le Mans is, to date, the most significant green racing initiative achievement we've been able to announce. So the fact that this is coming to reality, couldn't be more pleased.
I drove this car back a couple weeks ago in Berlin for the first time at the Lausitzring. I wasn't expecting the fun element of what I had. The car is so interesting to drive. It's very strategic in when you use the boost, but also the way that the car brakes is so efficient. It's charging the system obviously while you're braking, and that really helps getting late and deep into the corner.
Porsche, as a manufacturer, I think has always been one of the benchmark, if not the benchmark examples of an auto manufacturer that develops technology on the racetrack and then transfers that technology to the road cars. And what we're working with today with this hybrid is exactly that. This is not simply technology to make a better race car. This is developing leading-edge, high-performance technology that is going to soon be applied to the road car product. Porsche right now is a benchmark example with this car of what our green initiatives are all about.
Well, we've talked a lot about the 5 different types of fuel in the American Le Mans Series. I got a feeling, guys, we're going to be talking a lot about hybrid race cars in the years to come. We know that the 16 had problems, the Dyson Racing Lola Mazda. Chris, what'd you find out?
Well, John Doonan steers Mazda Motorsport in North America. And John, we just saw the 16 get pushed behind the wall. What's wrong with the car?
Well, it appears, Chris, we lost something internal in the engine. We're not sure yet, but just tough, you know, endurance racing, you gotta be around at the end, not these opening laps. Chris had a great start, but you got to be around at the finish to bring it home.
The team has only finished one of the first 5 rounds this year. What's it going to take to turn this program around for the second half of the year?
Well, the boys back at the engine shop have to put their heads down and get some stuff put together. But you know, we're proud of the Castrol folks that are here. We're disappointed we couldn't put in a better result for them. And we had all the Mazda dealers in Texas this week, and they've endured a tough economy. So we're going to try to put our thinking caps on and get after it from here on out.
Well, this team has shown so much speed, but they've just got to get to the checkered flag.
Even with the struggles that they've had, Chris Dyson was 3rd in the LMP Drivers' Championship points. The car very quick, but like they were saying, you got to get to the end. You've got to.
It's frustrating for that team because it's out of their hands, the engine development part of that thing. Now that he said something internal, I would guess valves, you know, dropped a valve.
61, the GT leader now as they flash through the downhill. Johnny Cocker leads the field back. The green flag waves. In the green Lola, the V10 in the back of that Lola Coupe leads the field down. Look at Pagenaud staying driver's right. I think he almost got jumped by GT cars coming through the downhill.
Wow, what a magnificent start there by Johnny Cocker. He was on the button when he needed to be, timed it perfectly, just as the pace car pulled into pit lane. big jump at the start there. With John Field out of the way, I would think that maybe Simon Pagenaud can now start to lay down some laps which are representative of the Highcroft Racing Machine speed.
Of course, I said how crazy it was around here at Lime Rock. When you race here, you get more racing per square inch than any other track you're on.
Tim Pappas in the 54 Porsche that flashed by, green and white. That was your leader in the GT Challenge category, the Black Swan Racing Porsche, and they have been on a tear as of late. Right there in front of the 48, Luke Hines behind the wheel. Luke, the Englishman, not been to Lime Rock before, and I know they had problems with that 48 and the braking yesterday, but they seem to have gotten it sorted out. The car's running well today.
Yeah, basically the brake bias, there's a knob inside the car where you can change the ratio, braking percentage front to rear was broken, so they were turning the knob thinking they were changing and nothing was going on, so that really got them confused. Here is the leader.
Oh,
Parker slowed on the racetrack.
The 5.5 liter.
That's the lead.
Pagenaud takes the lead.
By.
5.5 liter Judd V10 in the back of the Lola, and it seems to have lost either drive or fire in the engine, and Pagenaud out in front, and more problems on the track. The 40, the Ford GT, and the number 75, the Jaguar.
The Ford GT. Oh no, look at this now.
This is the championship leader.
Oh, this is huge. The 62 off the road as well. Wow. Jamie Mello behind the wheel, and he is deep into the tires.
Differentiate the two Risi cars, the black mirrors of the 62, the orange mirrors of the 61.
Boy, this is a big
Oh, and
here.
you see the smoke off the back of the 40, damaged the suspension, that right rear tire towing out.
Broken suspension there for Murray, he's got to be careful.
Brett Curtis behind the wheel of the GMG Porsche, the GT Challenge car, the red and black Porsche right there. Curtis,
Dave, slow right down, damaged suspension.
Oh, and Cocker has gotten the car refired, so I wonder if it's an electrical issue with the 8.
I was just about to say he was in a bad spot on the racetrack when all heck broke loose back there in the GT battles.
I think he stayed on the lead lap, guys. Got to wait for everything to cycle, but I think the good news for Cocker is he didn't lose a lap to Pagenaud.
And a big, big problem for the 62, Chris.
Yeah, it sounds like I think that car's going to make it back to pit lane, but listening to Jamie Mello on the radio, it sounds like the 3 car, the Corvette number 3 got into Jamie. So I don't know if that car is moving. I don't know if you guys can see it in your shot. But it sounds like their day is done, guys. It sounds like their day might be done.
Well, he's backed up into the guardrail for sure, but he's got trouble in the front too because he tried to pull forward and he's got the splitter buried. Look at this mess.
Right, here's the first problem.
Oh, Murray gets into a GTC car, turns him around, which gets into the Jag.
Oh, and there's the hit. And
Mello just flies off the road there. That is a big impact.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a hurt Ferrari for sure. And if the 3 got into him, it was the stack-up effect that happened because all this crash was going on up in front of them.
Maybe someone saw the incident, slowed up, and Jamie just swung it to the outside. Just conjecture at this stage till we try and catch it on a replay, but that is big impact. He may just be stuck though, guys. It's really wet out there. We've had a lot of rain yesterday.
Right here, as you were pointing out before, the car tried to go forward and it just shoveled up all that dirt, so it stuck itself.
Dorsey, I just checked with the team again, and they say they are done. They can't get the car started out there. They had a starter issue this morning in practice. They changed that starter out. So obviously, it's not the issue with the starter that they had this morning, but for whatever reason, they can't get that car refired.
Well, it looks like potentially a toe link on the right rear of the 40, but Jamie Mello, Jimmy Bruni, their championship hopes damaged right here. Let's take a look on board the 92 BMW. You see the 62. Down into turn 1.
Oh, he touches him. He touches him. The Corvette touched Jamie Mello. He had to try and collect it, then gets in the wet grass. Didn't have the braking done, and then slides across the racetrack. There was contact there between the lead Corvette and Jamie Mello.
Man, a traffic jam down there in turn 1. The hit was big, but the tire walls down there in turn 1, you saw them move. They are banded together, and that is the good news. So I'm not sure how much damage actually done to the 62, but if it will not refire, that is indeed the problem. Under full course caution for the second time. Well, the Michelin Green X Challenge we talked earlier is a vital manufacturer competition within each of the 2010 American Le Mans Series races, and it rewards the greenest prototype and GT team at each event. The race car that goes the farthest, the fastest, and with the smallest environmental impact registers the best score. Follow the competition throughout the season at AmericanLeMans.com. Something tells me that Porsche Hybrid is going to take some of those championships here before long. Maybe we'll see it in 2011. Simon Pagenaud has inherited the lead. Tom Papadopoulos, welcome back to the series. He leads LMP Challenge. Wednesday night on Speed. It's Speed Pride Time, and it's all new. At 8, it's the new original stunt riding series, Stealth Rider. And at 10, it's Intersections, where man and machine are pushed to the limit. Get your heart racing Wednesday night starting at 8 Eastern on Speed. Well, we talked about Green Challenge just before we went to break. We can take a look at the Green Challenge standings as they are right now. Let's go to prototypes first. Right now, Patron Highcroft Racing, they're out in front. E10 powered over the E85 Drayson Racing. Lola with that V10 Judd in the back, and we saw them with their problems. Johnny Cocker behind the wheel. Understand they might have a shifting issue. In the GT category, it's the BMW Rahal Letterman number 90 right now. E85 on all top 3 cars in the Michelin Green X Challenge in the GT category. Talk about GT class, we know that's why we're under yellow for the second time. The problem with the number 62, Jamie Mello behind the wheel of the Risi Competizione Ferrari, on board the 90 BMW as they head down to turn 1.
There you see it, Jamie Mello's on the right-hand side of the racetrack as they get down into the braking zone. Johnny O'Connell touches the right front of his car to Jamie Mello's. You can see Jamie trying to maintain control of it. Just slices across the racetrack, narrowly missing that LMPC car right there. You see the other carnage up ahead.
Hey, Brian, you know when you said at the beginning of the show, one of the places I wrecked? That was one of them.
That was one of the places I wrecked. You saw the damage to the right front of the number 3 as well. Jamie?
Well, Jamie Mello was able to get the 62 car back to pit lane. Jamie, what happened down in turn 1?
Well, basically after the caution flag, and I overtook number 3 Corvette on the straight, and basically he pushed me off the track on brake into turn 1. And yeah, basically that's what happened, and I'm quite disappointed because that was unfair, and I was on my race line already ahead of him, and he just pushed me off.
Well, this is going to be a hard day in the championship. They had a 2-point lead coming into this race, but the car still sitting here in pit lane got significant damage to the back end, especially the exhaust, and they will not be able to get the Risi Ferrari back into this race.
And that is huge indeed, because the 45 right now sits second on the racetrack, but anything could happen. Jamie Mello, Jimmy Bruni, 2 points ahead of Jörg Bergmeister and Patrick Long as we came into Lime Rock Park, and looks like 75 points is where they will stay if they don't get back out on the track and are not able to collect any more points today. Jörg Bergmeister, Patrick Long need to look at this and say, hey, we want to win races, but let's make some hay while the sun shines here.
Yeah, 20 points for a win, and if the 62 machine gets 0 points here today, that is a massive swing. And you see the BMWs, they're still in this thing. They lead the manufacturers. They have their drivers sitting 3rd and 4th in the points, and they have 2 very fast race cars here in dry conditions.
Simon Pagenaud leads the field. It's Greg Pickett in the number 6 Muscle Milk Porsche in second, but he is several cars behind Pagenaud. Clear sailing to the green and beyond. Looks like Pickett at least 5 cars back as they come down the front straightaway and the green flag waves. Racing again at Lime Rock Park, and Simon Pagenaud flashes by into turn 1.
There you see Greg Pickett. He won here in Trans Am, believe it or not, in 1981, 29 years ago. But his first time here in this machine, and he didn't get any dry laps yesterday. So you see him there fighting the car a little bit. But the big news for this team is they've kept that car on the lead lap. If Greg can maintain this pace, keep the car on the lead lap, we should see a classic battle when Graf gets behind the wheel today.
His no-name straightaway. Look how I mean, it's crazy trying to pass him here.
And he hits the 54. That was the leader in GTC. He was going past that GT Challenge battle. The 54, Tim Pappas behind the wheel, and the 48 of Luke Hines had just got together. And look at is that the 45? Indeed, it is. Patrick Long working hard to get through. We just talked about that, Calvin. Knowing that the 62 is where it is, how big a chance do you take? Well, Patrick Long's taking big ones right now.
Well, he's got a lot of confidence in the car. The car's set up. One advantage they have. Here we see a battle. Same place as the Corvette and the Ferrari got together. This time it's BMW versus Corvette. Down the front straightaway, and the teammates side by side.
That's Lime Rock. That's Lime Rock. Side by side, pushing and shoving. You got to root your way around this place, and it's tough, I'm telling you.
Tommy Milner behind the wheel of the 92 BMW, right on board the 90 of Dirk Mueller right in front. They are having a go at it. It looks like they've got the speed on the Corvette through the downhill. We know the BMW has better aerodynamics this weekend, improved aerodynamics. Is that what we're seeing at work?
Well, they got a bit more downforce on hand. Before, they didn't have enough aero on the front, and they had to balance their car by taking rear wing out. They're able to run more rear wing now. That gives them more downforce, more grip, and that really works around Lime Rock.
Getting pretty heated between the Corvette and the 90. BMW, they just had a little bump as they went up the old uphill.
Beretta protecting that line, moving that Corvette to the right side of the road. Understand that the 8 car is going to get a stop and hold for 22nd for a pit violation. So I'm talking about the pit procedure. They've served it back on track on board the 90 with Mueller.
And look at the top end the BMWs have over that Corvette.
And that's with more drag from the extra downforce, so they look strong still down this straightaway. But I think these Dunlops are really hooked up here today on race day. They really threw some soft tires at it this morning. Spoke to Tommy Milner about 30 minutes before the green flag here today. He said, I think we've got a very fast race car. We're going to decide ultimately on our compounds right by what the weather was at green flag time. Because it was wet yesterday, they can really have a free option in what tires they choose for the green flag in the start of the race.
Oberlin and Hand finished 3rd in the GT category in the BMW last year. We know that the driver pairings have been switched around this year. That BMW runs well here. I'll tell you what, Beretta is a sitting duck. If they can just get by him, they're going to be gone. The BMW seem to be much faster than the Corvette right now.
I think he is holding up Dirk Mueller, and Dirk's getting a little bit aggravated, running short on patience, and he's going to move him in a minute, I believe.
Beretta to the right side of the track once again. Now Tommy Milner says, well, maybe I can go around the outside. That's not going to work. But right now, 2 BMWs all over the back of the number 4 Corvette.
Yeah, they just seem to have more grip. Spoke to Danny Binks, who runs the 3 Corvette this morning. Here we see a prototype car trying to force his way through.
Stop and go for blocking on the 4 car.
Wow, that's the first time
to the penalty box. You need to come in to the penalty box.
That's the first time I've seen a blocking penalty administrated.
Wow.
So I didn't really see him weave. Normally you're allowed one move and then hold your position, but they probably feel right now Beretta is just holding up these BMWs too much. And I can assure you that Bobby Rahal and Scott Remke at Rahal Letterman have been screaming at the officials down in pit lane.
It's such a tough call. A blocking call is extremely hard. That's why the penalty is you never see it used, very seldom. Because normally it's got a lot of discussion going on before that happens.
I don't think the radio is working very well in Beretta's car.
He's not going to come in is what you mean. It's working.
Right now, the 90 Mueller looks to the outside, nothing doing right there. And you know that the BMW team is scanning race control. They've heard the penalty as well. You got to make sure that Dirk Mueller and Tommy Milner know that that 4 car is going to be coming off the racetrack. Don't put your car in harm's way if he's going to be moving.
He was going to be moving. I believe the 90 was getting ready to move the 4 out of the way because this is frustrating.
Still all over the back of him. Beretta still blocking down into that chicane. And like you said,
Mueller tagged the tires there, trying to cut across that corner there a little bit, using all of the curve. That's one of the things with the setup. You need a suspension setup that can really use the curves through these 2 chicane areas.
Now the question is, will the 4 come in this lap or not? You can usually get 2 laps of not coming in before they say that they'll stop scoring you.
Bobby Rahal looking on, looking at the monitors.
Not coming in, boys.
Not this time. There you go, moving to the inside.
Moot point now because the BMWs are inside of it.
2 of them, you heard him say, and both of them slipped through. So Beretta now probably has given up the ghost. He knows he's going to have to come to pit road. It'll be interesting to see how much BMW can pull out from the Corvette. We've had certainly plenty of excitement out there. We said that we would all day long. 4 classes at the same time. Take a look at Greg Pickett in the white prototype.
Slides the inside, he locks the brakes up. Right there, you can see the right front is locked up. That means he has 0 steering and just T-bones the 54 car that's been on a roll in GTC this year. Here we see it from a different angle.
And Greg just got in way too deep. He was not on the good braking surface.
Dirty part of the racetrack. You're on the marbles. The racetrack is very green from all of the rain.
45, getting past the 48. Patrick Long trying to get past Luke Hines up and over the curb. You got to be careful about the radiators up front. And then we just left that heated battle between BMW and Corvette. I don't think any love lost there. A little tapping going on, a little rubbing. Let's see.
Happens right up here. Comes up the inside.
Excuse me.
That's good racing. I mean, you're gonna deal with that all day long at Lime Rock. There will be contact. We read it in the press releases. We spoke to the drivers. Everyone said you can't go through 2 hours 45 minutes here without some contact.
It's awfully hard anyway. The Ford is coming out after doing a penalty for that.
Beretta back on track. We told you it was going to be a heated one, and it is. It is gladiators in the Coliseum, and we are far from done. So make sure you come back when we do. Right after this, from Lime Rock Park, the American Le Mans Series, the battle continues. And right now, Simon Pagenaud runs out in front. We'll be back to Lime Rock Park.
okay? Left roll. Wheel. Left roll. It won't move? No, it won't move. Like left rear suspension. Yeah, I'm easy joint or something. We're done. Go to the truck. Johnny, have it pull it back to the truck. Copy. The official, we want to go to the truck and work on it. Caution, full course caution.
Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward, and by Mazda. On any given weekend, there are more Mazdas road race than any other brand. Cars behind the pace car for the third time here at Lime Rock Park, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. You see the number 3 Corvette, Johnny O'Connell, sitting still on the racetrack. The top of your screen, far left, cars coming into view.
I think he got helped along there by somebody.
88, one of the GT Challenge cars, Jerry Vinto behind the wheel, on board the BMW.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if he did get into him or not from that angle.
It doesn't really matter because the damage is done literally and figuratively. Pit lane is closed right now. Johnny O'Connell out of his car. Jamie?
Well, pit lane just opened, Brian, but I just talked to the number 3 team, and all they said is they know that it's something mechanical with the car. They're not sure exactly what right now. They're trying to get the racetrack officials to get them back to the paddock area on a flatbed so they can dive back in. The cars are filing into pit lane right now. The number 4 car just pulled in. Oliver Gavin is going to climb behind the wheel. This team is not happy about that penalty right now. Oliver Gavin had a couple words with the official about it, but he's getting in the car nonetheless. Chris Neville?
Our GT leaders, the 61 and the 45 in pit lane. Going to do driver changes, take this opportunity. Mika Salo's going to get behind the wheel of the 61, and Jörg Bergmeister, the 45. The 45 didn't take as long on fuel because they just came in a couple laps ago, so Jörg Bergmeister already down and away while Mika Salo's still up in the air.
And look at the clock there, 1:59 plus on the board. A driver could not do any more than 2 hours in the car. That's why you're seeing driver changes right now. They suffice that rule.
And for Jörg Bergmeister and Patrick Long, this has been a gift. A problem for the 62, the 3, the 4. All of those cars figure in the championship. That's the good news. The bad news is the BMWs, both the 90 and the 92, are very strong this weekend.
There was damage to the left rear corner of that Corvette. The suspension was buckled, not a way for Johnny O'Connell to celebrate his birthday here today.
Well, under caution yet again, your ride on board the BMWs will take an opportunity to take a quick break. And as we do, I want to say hey to Ed Skotsky down in Florida, one of our biggest fans of the ALMS and one of our biggest fans of the broadcast here. I know you're having a tough time, Ed. Hang in there, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Hey guys, did Pat Long get into one of those tires in the chicane at the top of the hill? Is that what I heard you guys talking about with the right front corner?
Yeah, no, he just leapt over a curb a little bit into the West Bend chicane.
Okay, so no issue with right front corner?
No. I don't think so. I mean, he hopped the curb pretty big with the right front corner, but no, it shouldn't be any damage, I don't think.
Thanks, guys.
He just bicycled it a little bit.
Got a little air. It wasn't as severe as we thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, just to confirm, BMWs did not come in. They did not come in.
Copy.
You would think they might have split strategy there, that would have been an
Well,
opportunity
I
to do
think
that.
where they're at, they can do it on one more stop, so.
And they wouldn't be able to do that, yeah. And with the cautions that we're getting, just keep running and.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's going to.
I mean, every time we do a restart, we're at risk of another caution.
Cautions breed.
Yeah. Oh, he's mad.
Be careful if you interview him. Be careful if you interview him.
Yeah, he will say the bad thing. I've never seen it. I've never seen that penalty ever given. I've seen warnings.
We don't have to apologize? Okay, cool. Good to know.
Well,
yeah. That's what I was
about Dorsey.
What if Dorsey says it?
I was about to say, what about Janet Jackson? More importantly.
I don't want to see you. You're probably want to see you.
Oh, guys. Please.
Wow.
You gotta be real careful when we're unloading this thing. Nobody gets hurt, all right?
Corvette continues. Corvette.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
That's what Danny told me this morning. We just got to stop making mistakes on and off the racetrack.
Yeah. Get them out. Get two of them out and get an air jack one with a really long hose so we can put them on if we have to.
That was weird. I still don't know where the left rear suspension damage came from.
I don't either.
Well, I couldn't tell if the Porsche hit him. It looked like it did.
Well, he did
before it spun. They hit on the spin.
Did the wheel run up, perhaps,
well,
on the rear of the Porsche?
With the right rear, didn't he?
Here's my question: was the suspension? Did the suspension break, which made it? You know.
They're telling us we got to put the tires on down there. We got to put the fuel in down there. Obviously, we knew that, and we got to put the driver in down there. So.
That suspension might have broke and caused that to happen.
Back at Lime Rock Park, cleaning up the mess down in turn one. The problems continue for Corvette Racing in 2010. It looked like at Salt Lake City, perhaps they had gotten back on track, pardon the pun. But right now, they're on the back of a wrecker and problems for the 3-car.
There you see the suspension damage. You can see it towed out on the left rear. And just spoke to Danny Binks this morning. He said, we've got to stop making mistakes on and off the racetrack. We've got to get back in the game. We could have won races early. Here we see another replay of the thing. Johnny turns it around, but it's...
The question becomes, did the suspension break before?
It's already broken.
I think it is
so
too.
Unless he clouded him much earlier in this sequence as they're going down into the corner, then he lost it. That's a possibility. If he was going down the inside, made contact
No damage,
with that car.
though. I don't see any damage on the outside of the bodywork, so you would almost think that this is a suspension failure. Watch when it comes around. The left fender flare would be damaged if you had a big contact like that.
Well, and Jerry Vinto's car looked pretty clean down the right side. That's where you expect to see damage on him. Jamie, what have you found?
Well, I have found Johnny O'Connell, who's made his way back to pit lane, debriefing with the team right now. Johnny, we see the truck on the flatbed. What happened from your seat?
Yeah, this kind of stuff happens at Lime Rock all the time. You know, I got a We had great Corvettes, and sadly, contact with somebody that really was, might not have been, shouldn't have been out there. It's a shame, but we'll try to fix it. I mean, we are pushing so hard with this Corvette, trying to get it back to the front, and there's. Lime Rock always lends itself to a lot of contact, but this, this is frustrating when you got a good car, you're moving it to the front, and something like this happens.
Disappointing day for Johnny O'Connell and the whole Corvette racing team. Chris, who do you have?
Well, Pat Long just jumped out of the Flying Lizard Porsche, and Pat, it is a literal street fight out there in these early going to this race. But you've been doing a lot of stock car racing lately. Did that give you a bit of a warm up?
It's like short track racing out there right now. There's not any love lost between the different classes. I expected to have a little bit more help from the GTC guys, but hey, they're making holes and they're creating them. So it was tough to see how many spins were in front of us. Luckily, we were able to avoid all of them. We're not points racing today. We're racing for the win. With that, we've got a great car. The thing is handling really, really well. We were pulling Pierre in there. We came in, we pitted, and we just left the 61 like they were sitting still. So that's a testament to these Flying Lizard guys. They worked so very hard. It's hot out there. I told Jurek, conserve your tires, but conserve yourself. FRS is my energy drink. It's working well today, but it's really, really hot.
Saw you jump a curve pretty big out there. Any damage to the car when you did that?
No, a little bit of damage to the relationship between Luke Hines and I. We go back a long way to Europe racing go-karts, and he knew I was there. Greg Pickett had just slid under him, but no damage so far. Maybe a little bit of toe here and there, but that's good short track racing at Lime Rock.
Good stuff. I think one advantage that the Flying Lizard boys have, this is the car, the configuration they ran here last year. A lot of the other GT cars are coming with new stuff, so I think it's a big advantage with the rain out yesterday.
Pagano back on the throttle. Here's who had trouble already. Chris Dyson, who led early, problems for him. We saw the problems for the 23 GT Porsche as Simon Pagano takes the green. The rest of the guys who've run into a little trouble today. Talk about changes on cars. Remember the aero package on that number 1, the HPD Patron race. Ooh, lock up there for 95. That's Andy Wallace behind the wheel there. That new aero package on the 1 car as you ride on board with Andy Wallace. This is the battle for second in the LMP Challenge category. There's a slower car right there, the team car actually, to the 99.
Remember, these LMPC cars have carbon brakes, and if you don't keep any heat in them, Dorsey, there'll be nothing there, and then suddenly that heat gets in, and they'll lock up.
Yeah, that's one of the quirks about it. On the short track like this, you see Andy now trapped behind the team car. He'll be starting to get his blood pressure up shortly.
And Andy Wallace had the lead in LMP Challenge, so the lead has changed hands as Wallace tries to work his way around the slower 36, and here comes the GT leaders right there, the 2 BMWs, the 90 of Dirk Mueller in front, and then the Tommy Milner.
Think about this, our overall leader has not seen pit lane yet today, so this is a big strategy call by the Highcroft boys, 54 minutes in, but the BMWs looking good. They didn't take that last yellow, but I still think they'll be able to see this race on just one more stop, and everyone else will need to visit pit lane as well.
I hate to say it, but this is the typical Lime Rock. I mean, things we said at the beginning of the show, it's just non-stop action. When you're racing these races, it seems like cars are coming at you from everywhere.
Right now, the BMW's out in front of GT. Dirk Mueller leading over Tommy Milner, but the problems for the Corvette, we've chronicled them well. I know all the cars run a rev limiter. I don't think Olivier Beretta had his rev limiter working very well, Jamie.
No, his rev limiter was turned off behind the wheel of the number 4 Corvette. Olivier, penalty, what did you think?
Well, it's a tough race, and the competition is very hard. The Corvette racing were doing well. We were fast. I get the penalty, and honestly, I didn't understand because he bumped me 3 times. It should have been the opposite way, but this is the race. It's still long to go. It's just racing and a little bit unfair.
All of the action in the GT class going on right now, how dirty is it out there?
Sorry?
How dirty is the racing?
Well, no, the race is fantastic. I mean, very close competition. The Ferrari, the Porsche, the Corvette racing are very strong. And it's just that the penalty make our race very tough because now, especially in this little track, is even more hard. So, especially when it's unfair. But racing is like this. We are still pushing. Never give up, and I hope the Chevrolet will be good.
And that is the GM way. Never give up. Olivier Beretta in pit lane right now.
Well, I would have played you as radio traffic, but like I said, he was well over the rev limiter there. He was a little spooled up.
I should say, it's kind of strange. Normally, when you get a blocking thing, they will give you a warning. They'll come to your crew chief and say, hey, tell your guy to quit blocking or we're going to do something. This is the first time I've seen that penalty given, but I bet you there's more to this story than what we know on what we've seen so far. We'd have to talk to Bo Barfield and say, what was the reason, and we'll get that down the road sometime.
And the other big thing is, Dorsey, you talk about in the opening of the show, if you hit pit lane here on the green flag racing, you're going to go down a lap, and that's exactly what has happened to the 4 car. The top 4 in GT are on their own lap. They run 5th, but they're a lap down.
Things have settled down somewhat right now as you look at the number 63, Andy Lally, on board leading GT Challenge. So he's having a good run. Good to know that things have settled down a little bit. You know, when the series moves on to Mid-Ohio for round number 6, don't miss its special website stream of qualifying presented by Porsche on Friday, August the 6th. Series qualifying sessions so far featured intense action, so catch all the action in this special qualifying stream presented by Porsche. That's AmericaLeMans.com. Friday, August the 6th. Lally having a good run, and we talked about the AJR cars, 2 of them missing. That's going to certainly help them in the championship right now. Simon Pagenaud on a championship run as well. This Thursday on Speed, our primetime lineup is packed with great original series. At 8, Pink's All Out. It's all new as it goes 4 wide at the colossal Megatrack Z-Max Dragway. Then at 9, it's 70 Miles of Terror on Dangerous Drives. And at 10, it's a Muscle Car Slugfest on all new Battle of the Supercars. That's Thursday at 8 Eastern. You ride on board the number 1, the Patron Highcroft entry, Simon Pagenaud behind the wheel. Round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. Lime Rock Park through the uphill chicane, and then down into the other chicane, what we call the West Bend chicane. And there's second place, Klaus Graf.
This is significant, Brian, because Klaus Graf is behind the wheel, so Greg Pickett got the right amount of time in the car, means that Klaus is going to do under the 2-hour limit, and the car is really fast. His fastest lap is 1/10 better than Simon Pagenaud. He's 13 seconds behind, and he has fuel on board. Pagenaud does not. As you see Klaus Graf there, clip that tire bundle again going through the chicane. They're in great shape strategy-wise.
Yep, and I just checked in with the team. Klaus Graf is very pleased with the car right now. Team manager Jeff just told me Klaus is just behind the wheel. He's got his head down and he's beginning to do what he does best. But when I talked to Klaus earlier this morning, he said that the team has really kind of gone away from the strategy that they were taking when they first took delivery of this car. When they got the car, they also got Penske's data that came with the car. They're not really using that data anymore. They've decided we are Muscle Milk Team Cytosport Racing. We're going to develop our own setups, and we're really going on our own on this one. And so far, they've been really pleased with the results.
Klaus Graf only 11 points behind Brabham and Pagenaud in the championship, but that is the 52. Tom Papadopoulos behind the wheel, the leader in the LMP Challenge category. At least he was the last time by. And as he flashes by this time in timing and scoring, still being shown there. This is at the uphill chicane.
He's popped on the throttle a little bit too hard, got in the dirty part of the racetrack.
It is really slick through there. If you get offline, you see the other cars there, the GT machines online. He was way wide of that and immediately lost grip. No traction control, remember, on the challenge classes here in the American Le Mans Series.
Yeah, guys, I don't think Tom Papadopoulos lost the lead there in LMPC, but this team having a great weekend. Some of these LMPC teams have had difficulty with shifter problems this weekend, but these guys really smooth sailing. They had a great race back at Salt Lake City, but late in that race, Alex Figge had a very difficult time restarting the car, so they fell from 2nd to 3rd. This weekend, they're hoping things go much better on those pit stops, and maybe they can come away with a victory.
These are paddle shift cars where you have a paddle on the right side of the steering wheel that gives you upshifts and one on the left side of the steering wheel that gives you downshifts. That's all run through the ECU, and some of these cars now starting to experience problems when they pull the upshift button. The transmission doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So a little quirky thing they're all working around trying to figure out.
One thought yesterday was the amount of rain that we had. They said we merely needed maybe try and wrap these, insulate them a little bit more. We believe we were getting water into the system.
Tell you what, you got to give the PR1 team that runs the 52 a lot of credit as they have run this year. They have run very well. Tom Papadopoulos ran the first 2 sprint races of the year and then sat out at Salt Lake City, so he is back on form. Looking at the 99, Elton Julian right there, having a good run, running 2nd right now in the LMP Challenge category. And then Andy Wallace a ways back from behind him. Wallace running in 3rd right now. And remember, Wallace's co-driver is going to be Scott Tucker. That's big for the championship because right now the 99 is in front of him on the racetrack, and that is good for Gunnar Jeanette. The 95 beginning to close down right there behind him.
Andy's doing exactly what he needs to do. He needs to keep that car out there. They have to score points here today, so he needs to keep it clean. Turn the car over to Scott Tucker. Scott did a great job in qualifying here yesterday, just a couple of seconds off the pole. We're on board with him there. There's the 54 Black Swan car.
54 leading the GTC category right now. Tucker and Bouchou, 91 points coming in here, 11 over Gunnar Jeanette. Bouchou is going to drop back a little bit because we chronicled his problems from the practice this morning. So right now it's up to Andy Wallace to deliver a car to Scott Tucker so he can stay in this championship hunt.
It doesn't look like Andy's got the straightaway speed. I don't know how much setup that is. He's fighting the wheel a little bit through that big bend there, Calvin.
Now Julian beginning to close on the 48, the GTC entry of Bryce Miller. Miller running third in the GT Challenge category right now, and this will give you a good idea of the speed differential or the lack of speed differential between these two classes.
Yeah, they all seem to hit about the same terminal speed, about 155 down the straightaways, but certainly much better braking, much better cornering with the LMP challenge classes. Spoke to Elton Julian this weekend. He said, this is a baptism of fire. He said, I've never been to this racetrack before. I'm trying to learn it in the rain with something else, but he's immediately on the pace. Really has a lot of talent, this young man.
Tell you what, Tom Papadopoulos, we talked about his spin. He had a lap on everybody. He's running about a second a lap slower, so probably different pit stop strategies, I would imagine. And we talked about that from the beginning of the show. If you're going to win an American Le Mans Series competition at Lime Rock Park, it's going to take speed on the part of the driver, speed on the part of the crew, and no mistakes and some good pit stop strategy. It sounds to me like that is what the 52 right now is doing. Bobby Orgel calling the shots there as Andy Wallace begins to close down on Elton Julian for the battle in the LMP Challenge category. Round 5 of the American Le Mans Series action from Lime Rock Park. It's Simon Pagenaud in his Patron Highcroft HPD out in front here in round 5. And the problems for Corvette, they continue.
The American Le Mans Series, world-class drivers, premier road courses, and cutting-edge technology. Born in France in 1923, with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series is the glory and the grueling reality of world-class sports car racing. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
And the battle at Lime Rock Park now heating up in GT Challenge, and 2 of the best in the Porsches out there right now. Jerome Bleekmolen in the white and green 54 for Black Swan Racing, and then Andy Lally right behind him in the Porsche entry from TRG.
This is going to be a sensational battle, which should go down to the checkered flag because both these guys got in the car second, so they'll probably finish this one out, and they're 2 of the best driving these Porsche race cars.
GT Challenge there, the Corvette splitting them right now, but that battle will continue. You ride on board the 92 of Tommy Milner. That's in the upper left. That's the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche of Jörg Bergmeister right behind Milner, giving chase down the front straightaway. Looking out from behind the BMW, and look at Bergmeister closing the braking zone.
He does. He was just right on his tail a lap before some traffic got in the way there. But meanwhile, in the GTC battle, that is getting really tight there. How much patience will Andy Lally have?
Man, both of these are beginning to heat up right now. It's getting good. In the GT battle, just a little bit in front of the GT Challenge battle. 2 of the best in the business, I said, right there in the Porsches. And Lally really all over the back bumper of Jerome Bleekmolen in the white 54. But Bergmeister beginning to close, pulling Tommy Milner closer and closer each lap into the chicane at West Bend. Bergmeister closing up.
Yeah, about 1 more lap. Brian Bergmeister's going to be right on top of Milner. And these 2 Porsche drivers, no question, have a great deal of respect for each other. They know that they're the top of their game in their respective divisions. Andy Lally, of course, we've seen him with TRG in everything, stock cars, all the Porsches. He's known for getting the job done.
Here comes prototype traffic through. They slide by Jörg Bergmeister in the upper left there, and now beginning to close in on the back of the 92 of Tommy Milner, one of the LMP Challenge cars. And when you look at the battle for GTC, that's been split a bit by one of the extreme speed Ferraris. Chris?
Well, listening to the drivers in that battle right now, BMW, Porsche, we got to remember that the Flying Lizard car did come in and pit just a little bit ago. The BMWs have been out there a bit longer, and those BMWs starting to loosen up. We know that they've got a little bit more air on the front of that car, so the team wasn't able to really dial in the back of the car, and those cars going a little bit loose right now. And remember the rules in American Le Mans, very difficult to make an aero change because those gurneys on the back of the car, they're bolted down. So pretty much what the BMWs have is what they're going to have at the finish.
Watching that GTC battle, we see Jerome Blekemolen leading Andy Lally right now, and this is exactly the kind of battle that Blekemolen has been waiting for. He's been missing the Super Cup rounds over in Europe this year. He's the reigning champion in Super Cup, but he said, nope, I'm not going to defend that championship right now. This is where I want to be. The GTC action right now, the best solid Porsche action anywhere in the world.
And you got Porsches battling it out both in GT and in GTC. Look at Bergmeister close on the back of Milner, and obviously the Porsches in the GT Challenge. Oh, and a problem for the 0-2.
It's Ed Brown behind the wheel. He finished second here last year in GTC and actually did a test here on Tuesday. Felt very comfortable with the car, and having the rain out yesterday, felt he'd be good come race day. This is a tough part of the racetrack though, Dorsey.
That's the slowest corner on the entire racetrack, that new revised West Bend. Usually when you get turned around there, somebody turned you. We'll take a look and see if that's the case. Now it got to the dirty stuff. Just dropped his wheels off, got up on top of the curb, and you saw it lose traction on the outside and just turned around. No help from anyone.
Gets it back underway, but you know, Scott Sharp has done such a great job with his Extreme Speed Motorsports team, driving and trying to manage it, as well as you saw the 0-2 come to pit road. Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel of the 0-1 right now. You saw it flash by in 6th in GT.
This car has the E85 motor in it this week. It didn't have it at Miller, so this is the first time they're using it in race trim. And this team is really learning the ropes here in GT racing. They didn't have a particularly good car to start the race at Miller, but when they went to the medium compound Michelin tires in the middle of the race there a couple of weeks ago, the 01 car came alive with the fastest lap of the race. So very tough. Steve Chalmers, the engineer on the squad here, he has not been to Lime Rock with any race car before, so this is certainly a stern challenge with the rain yesterday and first day being dry, being race day.
And what Calvin's talking about with the E85 motor, that's the E85 ethanol fuel. You can't just put it in there. You have to make some adaptation to the motor, change it around, and this, they didn't have two of them. Now they've got one in each car, and it is more performance.
Fuel cell, fuel lines, all of that kind of stuff, and that's just more work for Scott Sharp and his team. Talked about what a great job Scott Sharp has done, not only in the car but out. He is building a program here at Extreme Speed Motorsports. He's doing it with the help of Ed Brown.
It's been such a blessing in my life, meeting Ed 6 years ago, getting him interested in the driving side of racing. He was always a car guy, a motorsports guy, but to actually talk him into starting to race a few years ago and to really spend a lot of time working with him and teaching him, you know, he has everything in Ed's life. He wants to do it now, and he wants to do it in a big way now. So that means you don't just go easy, you do a crash course, and that's literally what we've done. So it's been a very aggressive last few years of testing as much as we can, practicing everywhere we go, working together, looking at the data. You know, he's in 3 years moved to I think what probably most people would spend 10 years doing.
We got a little wide. And he was just saying we got wide a couple times, just like about a foot offline.
And really the way I think that Tequila Patron activates, and I think they set the benchmark for that, taking a property like the ALMS, and how do we maximize our return from that. So not only just my best friend, but just a great source of, it's fun to be able to do this stuff together and to see him excel.
Right on board the 0-1 right now. Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel. Scott Sharp was in that car earlier, and we talked about what a great job this team has done, and with the help of Ed Brown, he just climbed out of the 0-2, and Jamie is there.
He's getting a little bit of help cooling off right now. Ed Brown, torturous conditions on the track right now. You look exhausted. What happened?
It's just, you know, we decided to keep me out a little bit longer, and the last 15 minutes just became so hot in the car. It's really hard to focus, but I got my stint done. That's all that counts. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of bumping going on.
First time at Lime Rock Park, how was it?
You know, I raced in the Porsches last year. These are a lot funner to drive than the Porsches are.
Good job.
That's a big stint for him. Hour and 15 minutes plus, that is a lot of time in one of these cookers, Dorsey.
One thing about this racetrack, the straightaway's so short here, and there's only the one, that you never get a chance to rest. There's nowhere you can catch your breath because of the traffic around here, because of how many corners there are, and it's a fast racetrack. You're really, really gritting your teeth all the way around here, so there's no rest. And this place used to beat me up the worst of any track. I mean, this is a physically tough place.
Guy Cosmo behind the wheel of the 02 right now. The team has a lot of belief in Guy Cosmo, and he's really helping Ed Brown with his driving as well. But with the series moving on to Mid-Ohio next in early August, don't miss its special web stream of the entire race on AmericanLeMans.com, sponsored by Falcon Tire. On Saturday, August the 7th, you can catch all the action in this special race stream, along with the commentary from ALMS radio and timing and scoring information, all brought to you by Falcon Tire. Log on to AmericanLeMans.com. Right now from Lime Rock Park, round 5, Simon Pagenaud, who stays in front. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by the 2011 Jaguar XJ, the stunning result of taking a very different road. Here at Lime Rock Park, the fans on the hillside enjoying the weather and enjoying American Le Mans Series competition. Klaus Graf really closing down on Simon Pagenaud now. LMP Challenge battle is heating up, as is GT Challenge. It's a good one here. The fans have come to see a race, and they certainly have one. We talk about tire technology and what it means to go fast here at Lime Rock Park. Jamie has more.
Well, right now, those fans on the hill, they're enjoying the hot and dry conditions here at Lime Rock Park. But earlier in the weekend in practice and qualifying, as we mentioned, it was nothing but pouring rain. And that pouring rain poses a huge problems for the tire manufacturers specifically. At the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Michelin had 3 different wet tire options for the slight wet or drying conditions, intermediate for light rain, and then the full wets for the heavy wet conditions. But the differences are in the tread pattern, the compound, the number, and the shapes of the grooves. Here in the American Le Mans Series, though, tire manufacturers are limited to only one set of wet tires for each car. Michelin chose the heavy wet tire options to provide teams with the maximum available grip. So when the track was wet and it was staying wet, Michelin teams had a real advantage. But 2 things at the end are enemies of the tires in the wet. 1, standing water, especially the deep puddles. We saw some of those on track early this morning in the morning warm-up session, and the extended caution periods, just like that red flag that came out in the GT qualifying, because then the tires cool below their best operating temperature range. But Michelin doing everything that they can to make sure that the car and the tire have the proper setup no matter what the track conditions offer.
I'll tell you what the track conditions offer right now is dry racing, and it is heating up big time. That is the battle for the lead right there. Klaus Graf, after taking over the number 6, the Porsche RS Spyder from Greg Pickett, he has been on a charge. He has been reeling in Simon Pagenaud, and he's caught him.
He has, and Simon Pagenaud just 1 lap ago set his fastest lap of the race. Well, guess what? Graf is quicker by 2/10, and he has 40 more laps of fuel on board. The Highcroft boys have got to work some magic here. They need a break with a yellow or something, because I think they're still going to need 2 stops today. Graf will only need 1.
That is big. Dorsey talked about it in the beginning of the show. If you end up having to stop under green flag conditions here, you will go a lap down if you do a full stop, that's for sure. Graf looking, they've got traffic in front, and that is a LMP Challenge battle right there. Side by side, Andy Wallace, I believe, with Elton Julian. No, that's the 30. Is that the 36? That's the 36. So that's the team car. So he is down a bit. So Andy Wallace not fighting with that car, but right now Simon Pagenaud has his hands full. 36 and the 99 look exactly the same.
They do. You can really only differentiate the 2 cars by the driver's helmets. The black helmets are in the 36, but Pagenaud was doing a great job, Dorsey. You could see him there just managing the traffic. He wasn't going right into the gearbox of those LMP Challenge cars. He backed it up a little bit. He kind of stalled Klaus Graf right there, and then he took off to try and time the move.
And that's what you've got to do here. You got to play that political chess game. You got to stack up everybody behind you and get yourself in clear racing space so you don't get held up. On the other side of that coin is they should be talking to Klaus Graf and saying, buddy, you are sitting pretty. You're faster than he is, and you've got a full pit stop less to do than him, more than likely.
Right now, Pagenaud finding his way through traffic a little bit better than Klaus Graf, but the aerodynamics of that Porsche RS Spyder so good. You saw him flash around the GT car coming into the downhill, and Klaus Graf has now closed it right back up. It's where it was last lap.
Brian, I just checked in with Duncan Dayton on the Highcroft machine, and he said they've been saving fuel this entire race. He said they're only going to have to come to pit one time. So when they come in and put David Brabham behind the wheel, that's the only stop they'll have to make.
Well, that is huge. I mean, they are really stretching their mileage. I spoke to Robin Hill, the team manager, this morning. He said, 57, 58 minutes green. They're trying to stretch this. I know we've seen a lot of caution, but you know, he's an hour and 25 into this race, got an hour and 20 to go. I've got a feeling he's got to pit here pretty soon. The next 5 to 10 is still going to be a long run if it stays green.
One other major factor will be that when David Brabham gets in there, he's going to be totally fresh, whereas Klaus Graf has got to carry this car the whole way to the finish on his own. And it's hot outside, boys.
You know, that was interesting. Through the downhill that time, it looked like Graf lost distance to Pagano, and that's where the car had been strong earlier. This is where Klaus really seems to close the gap. Remember qualifying yesterday, this is the segment of the racetrack where Klaus Graf had the problems.
They talked about softening up the rear suspension settings on this Porsche Spyder. It was really sliding around, as we saw with the video of Klaus's qualifying attempt here yesterday at the beginning of the show. The car was really stiff at the back end. They didn't make a big change for the wet setup. But even in the dry this morning, Greg Pickett told me, he said, I think we're still a little bit too stiff. The engineers are thinking about softening it up.
Half a second at the line the last time by, this time 1.3, so Pagano seems to have found a little bit more pace. Either that or traffic really beginning to play. Perhaps the tires going away on the 6 car, and Graf out to the outside, and that is the 36 again that they're having to work around.
And all he did right there in making a pass on a slower car was give the car extra room, but in doing so, dropped his tires into the dirty area, the spent rubber area of the racetrack, and the car refused to turn at the exit of that corner. He dropped the wheels right off.
Christian Zugel behind the wheel of the 36 right now. We typically see him partnered with Gunnar Jeanette, and that's why those cars painted identical. He is sharing the car with Tim Sedeby this time, Tom Sedeby, I should say, this weekend, and Elton Julian, Gunnar Jeanette in the 99.
Pretty good story there. Christian Zugel did not intend to race here this weekend, so they committed to Elton Julian in the 99 car alongside Gunnar Jeanette. And then Christian said, you know what, I can make it. Spoke to Kevin Jeanette. Kevin said, we can't just take Elton out of the car. We made a commitment to him. I can try and find you another ride. He spoke to Jenna and Tom Knapp. They wanted to run. It was the perfect match. I think we may see more of that combination running this year, which is great.
We understand the 99 just took the lead in LMPC, and there is the 99 as well. Elton Julian right there in front of Simon Pagano. Tell from the exterior, the prototypes look very much the same, just a difference in the technology involved in them. A little less technology in the LMP Challenge car, which makes it somewhat more affordable to run, but still a very, very nice car to drive, and Elton Julian doing a great job taking the 99 to the front. That has championship implications once again for Scott Tucker.
Certainly does, and you can see what traffic can do to you. We saw Graf all over the tail of Simon Pagano, and right now he's dropped about 5 seconds just by being stuck with that GT and LMPC traffic. Jamie?
Well, the 95 car is on pit road. Scott Tucker getting strapped in behind the wheel right now. These pit stops take a little bit longer than the other prototype classes that we're used to. Different set of pit lane rules. Scott Tucker still getting strapped in. Fuel is still going into the car. Doesn't look like they're going to take tires though. That's where they lose a lot of time in pit lane compared to the other prototypes is in the tires. But they did not take tires. Right now he's just trying to get the car fired up. Lights are on and he is underway.
Watch your pit speed, watch your pit speed.
Earlier in the season, they had to do a mandatory 4-tire change during one of these events. For the sprint race, they've decided not to do that. Really saves everyone budget. The tires, the Michelin tires are excellent. And the reason the tire changes take so long is because with the challenge classes, Dorsey, you're only allowed 2 wheel guns. Excuse me, 1 wheel gun.
Well, Tucker just left pit lane and goes through turns 1 and 2, and Elton Julian, I should say, in the 99 just dove into 1. So it'll be interesting to see if Elton Julian can hunt down that car and put it a lap down. That'll be very interesting to see, and if so, that'll make it even harder for Scott Tucker to try to challenge for that win, but we know the 99 will have to be pitting soon
Look
as
at
well.
this, that's
Wow.
the leader. Look at Pagano get all crossed up and locked up going into the uphill.
And there's actually they're working through the leading GT right now. He is, and here comes Klaus Graf trying to get through too.
And I think that is the most challenging portion of the racetrack for these drivers. It is narrow, no name straight is not straight. Oh, look at that.
That was a
what
nose.
shot. Wow, that was Tommy Milner's onboard camera and Klaus Graf right there on the rear bumper of the 92 BMW as they flash through to the downhill. Graf takes it to the inside. He's trying to set sail again for Pagenaud, but Pagenaud has now pulled out 2.7 seconds.
Guys, the 95, we heard on the radio, watch your speed, watch your speed. Didn't watch it close enough. Pit lane speed limit violation, stop and go penalty.
That will cost him the lap for sure, because Elton Julian just comes flashing by the front straightaway. There you'll see him right there, the green prototype that flashed by. That was it. So Scott Tucker's day, not so good right now, but we still have a long way to go from Lime Rock Park. It's Simon Pagenaud who continues to lead here, but Klaus Graf not letting go of the back of that HPD entry from Patron Highcroft Racing. We'll be back to Lime Rock Park for more of round 5 of the 2010 American Le Mans Series. Back at Lime Rock Park for round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. On track right now. See the Corvette streaming through the left-hander. We're having a bit of a technical issue, so we're going to be right back to Lime Rock Park and more American Le Mans Series action. Simon Pagenaud still out in front. Make sure you join us when we come back. Back at Lime Rock Park, Simon Pagenaud has brought the HPD Acura Highcroft entry, Patron Highcroft entry, I should say, onto pit road for their stop.
Significant here. It looks like they are going to take tires. And this will be a graphic illustration of what a green flag stop does to you here in this racetrack. Very short lap. We'll have to look for Graf. He was right on his tail when Pagenaud hit pit lane. Brad behind the wheel now. 4 tire change, 4 fresh Michelins, 90 liters of fuel. And there went Graf, I believe. I think Graf just put him a lap down.
That would be correct, Calvin. As a matter of fact, for you to make a green flag pit stop without going a lap down, you would need at least 20 seconds in hand, and we knew that the 2 cars were running nose to tail. So now, with new tires, it's going to take a lap to get up to speed at least, and he's a lap down anyway at this point.
The key is now, Graf is going to need fuel. We believe Highcroft may be able to stretch it. An hour and 8 to go on this fuel load. Will be a long way, but they can possibly stretch it. Graf will definitely need fuel. The key is his stop will be a timed fuel load. He will not need a full tank to get to the checkered flag. That is going to be the key here today, how long they spend on pit lane.
Yeah, Calvin, that car, they have options. They could come in right now and get to the end, but they could also go to about lap 125. So they can pick their time when they want to come to pit lane. I think the big question is when they come in, they're not going to have to take as much fuel as the Highcroft car, and will they take tires? I know they tried to do new tires on just the left side this weekend, but Klaus Graf saying that the car was very twitchy under braking. So if they take tires, I think they're going to have to take 4.
I think the key is, Chris, they have a lap lead. If I was those guys, I would stay out, because if there's a yellow, yes, pit lane will be closed, but they are on their own lap. Even when they pit, they'll still keep the lead. So that will be the call. Do you take tires? Ideally, they'd like to do it under caution, because they're going to, basically lose track position only, but still have the lead of the race.
Wow, look at this traffic jam right there. You see the BMW and the Porsche fighting, then Klaus Graf, the prototype right in front. It's Tom Papadopoulos, the leader in the LMP Challenge category, and look at Bergmeister trying to go inside Tommy Milner. 3 different leads right there, and there you go. Bergmeister takes it. 3 different battles, or 3 different leaders, I should say. Bergmeister now to the front in GT.
The longer this goes, as far as Klaus Graf goes, the least time he'll have to take to get fuel. That was actually the pass for second in GT. The 2 BMWs, of course, look just alike, but Bergmeister's been running down the 2 BMWs, and in traffic now has split them.
My bad, boys. Didn't look at the red and the blue on the windscreen of the BMWs. My bad. Bergmeister, though, moving towards the front. Tommy Milner in front. About 4.2 seconds to Milner, the 6 in traffic. Oh, and
who's coming in?
Here he goes.
Who's coming in? I wouldn't have called it that way, Calvin, either.
Yeah, well, they're going to be in good shape, but I think they had a lot of options to them. Maybe Chris is making the call there. Maybe he's running out of rubber a little bit. Let's see what he does. Essentially, if his pit stop mimics his, that being Pagenaud's for tires, the fuel stop is going to be the key. How long will they have that fuel hose connected, Chris?
Yeah, it's going to be connected, much shorter than the Highcroft car, so they're putting fuel in the car. They've got fresh Michelins out, so I'm assuming they're going to go 4 Michelins, 4 corners of that car. Also the BMW car, also in pit lane, Billy Arbelin getting behind the wheel in the Ray Hall car. Everything done with fuel on the Porsche down here. The 6 car, the Muscle Milk car, up in the air right now, just getting the tires on the car and looking down the front straightaway, looking for David Brabham. Don't see him coming down the downhill yet, so these guys might be able to maintain the lead.
Slight delay there on the left rear for Klaus Graf. So Jeff Carter and the boys make the call. I would have actually connected that hose and timed it with a tire stop. You're not going to lose any further time. That'd give you a little bit more fuel, could run it a bit richer, but they obviously have their calculations. So Klaus Graf gets the lead with that time fill.
Maintains it, and that is big news. Big news in GT was that Jörg Bergmeister did indeed take over the GT lead.
He's about 14 seconds ahead of us. 14 seconds ahead of us. This is your carrot, buddy. Let's go get him.
Remember, Pagenaud has hot tires. Graf has got to get some temp and pressure into these, so this could be the critical phase of the race. What can Pagenaud do here in the next couple of laps?
I like that. There's your carrot, buddy. Go and get it. I loved it when they told me that.
So Milner dove to pit road. Bill Arbelin has taken over there. Brabham in the car, in the 1, trying to give chase to Klaus Graf. And you guys talked about it. At the end of the race, you're going to have a fresher David Brabham than Klaus Graf. But a lot of people seem to think that these open cockpit cars get a lot of fresh air in them. We all know that's not the case. It actually is a low pressure area in the cockpit. It draws the air out of the cockpit. So Klaus Graf working hard on a very hot and humid day in Connecticut.
There's the gap. There's David Brabham. I got excited. Of course, Brabham has taken over the wheel of the Patron car. We saw Klaus Graf going through turn 1 as Brabham was just coming on this long front straightaway. So he's got the hammer down. He's got to get him.
Remember, these guys are lapping in 49 seconds, 50 seconds, so they're working really hard. They're working out inside that race car. It's hot outside, and there's nowhere to get a room for breath. So, I mean, they're going to work now.
It's up to David Brabham to work to chase down Klaus Graf, but it was Simon Pagenaud who ran from the drop of the green. What a great stint he had, Chris.
Yeah, and he led most of that stint. Simon, right now, you guys are about 10 seconds back. Is David going to be able to track down that Muscle Milk car?
Well, it's David Brabham, right? I think he can. I mean, the car is not very easy to drive with the low downforce kit we have on the cars in Salt Lake City. We're trying to compensate the roads. It's a little bit difficult for us compared to a Cytosport car, which has a little bit less weight and more downforce. But I mean, the team is doing a great job to set the car up, not knowing that this package over here. And if there's someone that can do it, it's for sure David. So I'm pretty confident.
Well, Simon was telling me earlier that the car has been a little bit of a handful down in turn 1 and 2 because of that lower downforce. Actually, about 8% less downforce on the back end of that car.
45 cars come onto pit road to overtook the GT lead. Also doing a timed fuel stop here. Going to put on 4 new Michelin tires as well. Jörg Bergmeister climbed out of the car. Patrick Long out behind the wheel. Pat told me earlier in the week, I'm going out there to fight. This weekend is about being aggressive. We're at that stage in the championship where we have to go and get it. However, with the 62 car out of the race right now, he might try and be a little more conservative and just make it to the end.
Well, certainly Patrick Long earlier wasn't being conservative. Are you surprised to see him switch back to do the double driver change there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if Bergmeister had a problem there, but certainly has a very hot and humid day. Here's the BMW, so that was a good call by the Flying Lizard boys and a very efficient pit stop. That was masterful and clinical.
Still P1, Jörg. You're still P1.
I believe that was the 45 crew talking to Patrick Long. It sounded like one of their crewmen, but it's Mika Salo that timing and scoring is showing in the lead in GT right now. Klaus Graf, though, up front. Simon Pagenaud, you talk about how well he drove today. What about how well he's been driving as of lately? He's won the last 4 races that he started.
He has one over in Europe, Spa, and of course he was supposed to have another one in that win column at Le Mans. We call it the last 4 races he started because he did not get behind the wheel of that Peugeot that suffered suspension damage with Pedro Lamy behind the wheel early in the going at Le Mans. But what a streak he is on. It's going to be tough today, though, to keep that win streak going.
Tell you what, Simon Pagenaud has certainly made a name for himself here over the last couple of years. Jörg Bergmeister saying, yeah, it is hot and it is humid. That's why we did that driver change. And Klaus Graf give the Muscle Milk team yet another victory. Remember, they won the P2 category, the 12 hours of Sebring. Those guys found a way to cool off. They're fishing. These guys, hey, they're hot, just like the competition here at Lime Rock Park. Thursday night on Speed, it's a muscle car slugfest and an all-new battle of the supercars. Formula Drift champion Tanner Faust and open wheel champ Paul Tracy duke it out in supercharged Mustang GT500 and a turbocharged Camaro. Battle of the Supercars Thursday night, 10 Eastern, only on Speed. With those two boys and those two cars, they may tear some stuff up.
Well, this is a great battle here. The two BMWs now. Billy Orblin running third in class. Joey Hand right behind him. Remember, these two guys were teammates last year in this very same team. They got split up, really just changed things around for this year, really tried to energize the driver lineup. It has worked. They've been running very, very strong.
Tom Papadopoulos, the leader in the LMP Challenge category, has come to pit road. We knew that they would have to be coming in here, and those stops take a little bit longer. It'll be interesting to see. Gunnar Jeanette was about a lap and a half back. Can he get back in the lead here on the stop for the 52?
Saw they had left side tires out only. A two-tire change would be quicker with the one gun, and also all the right-hand turns here at Lime Rock, that works very well.
Oh, this
Joey
is
Hand,
good
look to
stuff.
the inside. This is, hopefully it won't get ugly. These are two very good friends. They share rental cars on the weekend. They basically work hand in hand, even though, no pun intended there, even though they're in different cars this year. Very good friends and great race car drivers.
Be kind of an ugly ride back to the airport if they got together. We saw Jörg Bergmeister climb out of the 45. That was a little bit unexpected, Jamie.
It really was, but you were hot, you were tired when you got out of the car. Was that always a strategy to switch back?
Well, yeah, it's a pretty hot day in the office today, so we had to plan to do a second driver change from the beginning because of the temperatures. Taking no risk, you get pretty worn out at those temperatures, and so we didn't want to make a mistake, and we didn't have to take as much fuel as the BMWs. That's why we beat them in the pit. So it paid off to stay patient behind them. Car was really quick when I was by myself. When I was behind them, I always picked up a little understeer, but in general, the car handled really well.
You're going for your 5th consecutive win here at Lime Rock Park. Is the car good enough to get it today?
Well, it's still a long way to go, but definitely would be nice. Would be good for the championship. That's what I'm really looking for, and 5 wins in a row would be nice, but the championship is more important.
Well, great stint, great teamwork. Go cool off.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things is, yes, it's a very warm day, but also these drivers, even though young and very fit, they're in the middle of their season. I spoke to Jürgen Miller. He said, I am now on an 8-week consecutive streak, racing over Europe in various categories, run a 24-hour race over there during that 2-month span. So he is really on a roll right now, racing every week.
On board with Johannes van Overbeek, that extreme speed Ferrari as he flashed down the back straightaway right now, running a little bit further back, 6th in GT, as you look at Patrick Long. And there is the leader in GT, and we've said this before, it was just a couple of years ago, though. It was Mika Salo in a bright red Risi Ferrari, and he's back up front yet again.
And this is a different configuration race car to the one that Mika did so much good work with the Risi team. Remember, they got into this wider tire package this year, Dorsey, and what it's meant is, even though Mika drove the car at Le Mans very briefly, his teammate crashed the car, so they didn't make the race. He said, I'm having to learn this car, and also rain out yesterday, so the first dry laps driving this car were really today, so he's done a tremendous job to hold down the lead, even though he will need to pit yet.
Yeah, Calvin, he's going to relinquish that lead when he comes to pit lane, but talking to the team, they were thinking about pulling Mika out of the car because when he initially got behind the wheel, Rick Mayer, the team engineer, was saying he was just too hyped up. He was overdriving the car. He wasn't happy with the setup. Now he's settled back into that Ferrari. He seems to be doing well, so they're going to leave Mika behind the wheel and not put Pierre Caffer back in.
I'd have loved to have heard the radio communication on that one. That Mika wasn't happy with the setup.
It would have been like listening to Beretta earlier when he got the penalty.
A few bleeps would be needed.
Yeah, to say the least. And there's a look at the 75, the Jaguar entry. Rocket Sports Racing, RSR Racing. Ryan Dial behind the wheel right now. Good to see Dial having a good run. Good to see that car from the drop of the green until now running out on the racetrack, because the problems that they've had, the struggles that they've had have been well chronicled, but they are adapting and they're overcoming. Each weekend they're getting a little bit better.
Yeah, Brian, they're getting a lot better this weekend because all the electronic issues that car had came from a cam sensor that they just couldn't figure out. But now that they figured it out, the engine is running well. Now it just comes down to working the setup and also working with Yokohama on that tire package. They're going to be doing a tire test after this event, trying to make that car quicker. But they did have a penalty early in this race. They lost a right-hand mirror on that American Le Mans Series. As soon as you lose some bodywork, you got to come in, especially a mirror like that.
Yeah, and speaking to Ryan this morning after the warm-up, he said the car's cornering is pretty good. He said the engine is very strong. Now we've got those electronics sorted out, but he said traction and under braking is where we're losing out right now.
See the 44 Flying Lizard Porsche right there behind the 8, and then the 4 Corvette. All of those cars out there running. You know, we talked about the problems for the 4 Corvette earlier, the penalty they had. The 8 back underway. That's good to see. They changed the steering wheel to try to help with that shifting problem, but right now it's Darren Law in the 44, the other Flying Lizard entry that he shares with Seth Nyman.
Well, the good news for the Team Corvette boys is the number 4, after all of its troubles that you were talking about right then, Brian, has gotten itself back on the lead lap. Some good pit work and good strategy from the Corvette guys. Now, if there should be a caution, that car is an eligible car to contend here.
The sister car, the Flying Lizard car, really doing a tremendous job. Pat Long currently running second, just set the fastest GT lap of the race as he chases down Mika Salo. And certainly the team will have informed Pat Long that that 61 machine, the Ferrari, needs to hit pit lane once again. There we see Pat.
And the 44 running 7th in GT, that would be their best finish of the season with that driver pairing. They had a great top 5 at Sebring, but in all the sprint races, the best they could muster was an 11th twice at Laguna and at Salt Lake City. So a good run here at 7th in one of the sprint races for the 44. The 45, certainly they are running well up front.
Flying Lizard guys have got a really good setup package on these 2 cars. You see them able to use the curves and not get loose, and you see the car is very compliant as it goes up and down these elevation changes.
And again, Dorsey, this is a short weekend anyway, just 2 days. Yesterday was completely rained out, so the Ferrari has a different tire and wheel package. Corvette haven't been here before in GT2. So all of these front-running teams don't have a known setup for the car they're running this year. The Porsche does.
Yeah, no doubt.
75 on pit road. Sorry, Dors.
That was a washout yesterday. That was just rain all day. This looks routine. I talked with Paul Gentilozzi, and team principal, and he was telling me about the camshaft position sensor and the fact that they could not find that electronic issue. Once they did find it, not only did it get rid of all the problems they were having, but it gave them another 30 horsepower. That's a nice bonus.
I'll give Paul Gentilozzi a lot of kudos. This has been a tough season for him. There you see him. He's right in the thick of it. And after the race at Miller, where they had another disappointing run, he was right there with the mechanics, pushing the car back into the garage. He is in it. He is in there in the trenches with his troops. They'll come good. He's got a lot of pride, that man.
Well, and this team certainly knows how to get the job done. I mean, they ran here earlier this month in Trans Am. Tommy Dreese finished second, so they know how to field good cars, but right now they're just having to learn the nuances of this Jaguar, and I understand that they're going to have a new block coming at some point in time, so all of that is going to help them, and the more they run, the more they're going to get a handle on this chassis and the aerodynamic package.
Actually, they're casting a new block for that engine, and that's going to help that out. But also, I've heard the rumor of a new car as well, a complete second Jaguar entry with a lot of upgrades that this car doesn't have.
One thing that Paul spoke about, when they read the rule book, they really felt the greenhouse, as we call it, basically the shape of that car had to be almost identical to the road car. And a lot of the other manufacturers have kind of tweaked things. They've cut things down and lost about 2 to 3 inches in that roof. Just the drag factor alone by that big greenhouse is about 30 to 40 horsepower you need to pull that car through the air. They're learning a lesson this year.
Well, just as RSR is learning, you can learn as well. Race Hub on AmericanLeMans.com has all the content that you need to follow the American Le Mans Series, including live timing and scoring, and featuring an electronic lap chart, the American Le Mans Series radio, and many other features. So log on now at AmericanLeMans.com. These boys certainly warm out there watching the race. Gunnar Jeanette's taken back over the point in LMP Challenge, but for right now, it's Klaus Graf that runs out front overall. David Brabham in the number 1, the Patron Highcroft entry. Nothing but clear sailing ahead of him. The problem is it's about 21 seconds up the road to Klaus Graf. He's got his work cut out for him. A lot of traffic out there as well. Look at the 45 in front of the 61. Patrick Long is taken back over the lead in GT after the 61 made their pit stop. Chris?
Brian, you talked about clear sailing in front of David Brabham. That's what he needs, because when I did the interview with Simon Pagenaud after the driver change, they were only 9 seconds back, now 21 seconds back. He is just not getting any breaks in traffic. It dropped back to 15 seconds, and now it's dropped back to 21 seconds. The team just saying, David, you got to push hard. You got to work your way through this traffic, because he continues to lose precious seconds.
He's not the only one who's lost here lately. We talked about Patrick Long being in the lead. 61 very long pit stop, Calvin. They've lost a lap.
It was. It's a complete lap, which is a bit of a disaster, because if the pit stop had been marginally faster, it was a time fill, I believe, on that car. There's no reason for them to go down a lap. They came in with the lead by a healthy margin. They go out one lap down. Now, if they'd stayed on the lead lap, got a yellow, they could have maybe done a lot more good work here today.
And for the 62 Ferrari right now, while they're in close proximity, they need to get that lap back somehow. That's the 61.
Concern for the Lizard boys is, Dorsey, if this 61 car gets on the back of that, think about the big picture. The championship, is CAFA going to rough him up a little
Well,
bit?
that's it. I mean, 61 car's got to get that lead lap back at any cost and hope for a caution.
Oh, that's where it gets tight. That's the leader.
That is the leader in the LMP category, the leader overall here. Remember, 4 different classes racing at one time. There's a battle just about everywhere. The 63, the blue Porsche there, one of the GT Challenge cars of Andy Lally. He runs second in that class. So this traffic here we've talked about, it's going to play a part all day long, all the way to the checkered flag. Chris.
Well, while we were in break, the 61 came to pit lane, and I told you that Mika Salo was going to finish the race. But Mika, you got out of the Ferrari. Why did you get out when the team was telling me you were going to stay in?
Well, I was thinking about it for the last 20 minutes, and then I thought, okay, if Pierre is fresh and it goes close in the end, so we need somebody who has the power to really put the push. I haven't raced since last year, basically, so I'm a bit rusty, so I need a bit more laps to. It's whatever training you do, it's not enough because this is not jogging or lifting weights in a gym, so it's still different. It's a concentration and it's hot, so it's better to have a fresh guy in.
Bit of a gap right now between the Ferrari and the GT leaders, but if we get a caution, do you guys have a car that can take it to the fight?
Yeah, well, I think most of them have to stop one more time, so I don't know what's going on. So I'm just driving. I'm new at P2, and we had a 30-second lead or something to the third place, and that's all I know. I don't really know what's going on everywhere else.
And guys, just to update you on that stop they made, it was a very clean stop, fuel and tires. However, the driver change was a bit slow. Pierre Caffer could not get his belts on, so it had at about 10 seconds just because of that driver change.
That's the difference right there. They wouldn't have lost the lap, and here we go. BMW's back at it. Nothing much has changed here. Joey Hand right there all over the back of Bill Auberland.
Yeah, we just talked with Bobby Rahal, and he said, I told the guys they can fight as hard as they want. We don't have team orders. The only rule is you can't hit each other. Go at it, but do not come back with any contact after this race.
I've heard that before, man. I've heard that song and dance more than once.
I think if you hit each other, you might as well just find a ride out of the park. You're not going to want to go back and see Bobby and Scott Rimke.
It wouldn't be a pretty sight, but I mean, it's happened so many times.
But these two guys, you were saying, Calvin, they know each other so well. They have raced with each other so much. Look at this. Joey Hand trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work. It's about as close to hitting each other as you can get.
Come on, man. Just use all that skill. Get up on the wheel and make me proud.
A little encouragement there.
That was Scott Remke, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
This racetrack is a tough racetrack. These guys know it very well. I can see by the way they're maneuvering the cars around that they're not going to hit each other, but they're going to really push each other to the limit.
See Scott Tucker there in the 95 GTC car, or the LMP Challenge car. You see the leader, the 54, the green and white Porsche, Jerome Bleekemolen, leading in GT Challenge right now as they slice through. And this is the problem with Lime Rock Park when we talk about traffic. Talked about the speed differential between the cars. There's not a lot of it, but there's Joey Hand out. Wow.
That had disaster written all over it. Joey got an excellent exit off that west chicane. Thought about going down to the inside. That was tight.
I talked to Joey earlier this morning, and he said, I feel pressure every time we come to Lime Rock Park. It's a BMW track. I'm a BMW driver. Even going back to the beginning days when he first started racing in Formula BMW, his first race here at Lime Rock Park, but he's had more podium finishes here at this particular racetrack than anywhere else on the schedule, and he said, I'm going out at it today. I'm going to finish on the podium.
And you saw David Brabham flash through that, and that is the other thing about Lime Rock Park. Somebody else's problem can quickly become yours. Brabham right there in the middle of that fight as he flashed through. If there had been a problem, certainly could have taken him out of contention. Right now, still trying to give chase to Klaus Graf in that muscle milk Porsche. Joey Hand still giving chase to Bill Auberland.
Got a good run down the downhill, and that's where we saw him stick the nose in before. You don't want to go side by side through the apex, even if you can, because for two cars to make that, you'd be real slow through there.
Sport LMP car flashes by. 37. Good to see them back out and running after the problems that they had early on, but they were well back. Clint Field behind the wheel right now, just 97 laps in the book to the 126 laps that Klaus Graf has put in today. Through the left-hander, the right-hander, onto No Name Straight.
These guys about 11 seconds behind our GT leader right now, Pat Long, who still continues to lead in the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche. And these guys just know each other so well. They'll know their trace. They look at telemetry. They know where one driver is strong versus another. Joey prides himself on being the last of the late breakers. He can take it in really, really deep, but he recognized that Billy Aublin will close the door.
Patrick Long putting in some really good lap times, just over a second faster than Auberlen and Hand the last time around. Now, he got held up that time in traffic.
There you see the gap. Pat Long just goes into turn one. We see the BMWs appearing on the front straightaway. So with the traffic, you have to keep pushing. Pat Long could lose 4 or 5 seconds in a heartbeat. He has to keep being aggressive.
And he just did. He was down into the 57-second range, and the last lap was over a minute 1, in fact. So the traffic works for you, and sometimes it works against you as Patrick Long works through traffic here, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series for 2010. Good stuff right now. We saw Patrick Long a little bit earlier talking about that hybrid, the Porsche that we'll see at Petit Le Mans. He had a chance to drive it, and that was good stuff indeed. And that is part of the green racing that the American Le Mans Series is known for, and that we'll see more of in the future. Fans had a chance to stop by and look at cars, a Corvette, that beautiful hybrid Porsche. Kids, hey, that may be the future of the American Le Mans Series right there. Great stuff from New York and great stuff from Lime Rock Park, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. We'll be right back. Well, as we left you, we showed you the hybrid in New York and the Michelin Green X Challenge, all a part of the green racing here in the American Le Mans Series. This is how the prototypes stack up right now in today's Michelin Green X Challenge. Number 6 Muscle Milk Cytosport Porsche out in front right now over the number 1 Patron Highcroft Racing entry, the HPD power plant, and that's exactly the way they run on the racetrack right now. That's the look in GT. Well, 2 of the big leaders in green racing are in our paddock week in and week out. That's Corvette Racing and Michelin. More on that. Let's hear more from Doug Feehan.
You know, I tip my hat to Michelin. Michelin is an extremely green company based in Europe. And not only are they green in the way they operate their plant, but now they're green in the what products they produce. You know, the materials that we're getting in our race tires now are much greener than they were 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, that says a lot about Michelin as a company. When we look at General Motors, as much as anything, we use it as a learning experience for our customers. How can we teach our customers that the way cars are propelled is going to be changing? We've known 100 years, we've known one thing, and that's gasoline. Now we have the opportunity to demonstrate that utilizing alternative fuels can deliver fun, can deliver excitement, can deliver reliability, and can deliver performance. If we can put cellulosic base E85 in our Corvette and win races with it, Mom can put it in the SUV to take the kids to school, Dad can put it in the pickup truck to go to work. You know, ethanol isn't the answer, but it's part of a solution. And part of that is educating the American public that there's going to be different ways that cars are going to be moved forward as the industry evolves.
That E85, certainly all the teams, or a lot of the teams in GT have decided that it's a really good thing. We talked about it earlier. Yeah, you've got to change some plumbing, some configurations of the power plant a little bit on the fuel rails and the fuel cell, but it seems to certainly have an advantage that a lot of these GT competitors like.
You talk about that advantage, and you mentioned all of the changes that have to be done. Well, remember back a couple years ago when Corvette Racing originally switched over to that E85, they had problems with the fuel cells and in the fuel lines. Well, Gary Pratt and Danny Binks told me the last couple of months, nearly every team in the GT field has called them and asked for some advice on exactly how to make their cars run that E85 fuel. They said, we were happy to help. It's better for the environment, it's better for us, and it's better for the competition. So there's a little bit of GT camaraderie when it comes to using that E85.
But as Doug Feehan says, ethanol is not the answer. It's not the ultimate answer to the problem. It is a step along the way. Certainly it will progress. We'll see huge strides made in alternative fuel, and it's just one of the early attempts.
Yeah, we talk about E85. Sorry about that, Calvin. We talk about E85. You see the 99 flash by right there. Gunnar Jeanette is retaking the lead. G-Oil on that car, another very green racing product, literally is one that is so good for the environment. It's impressive stuff. You literally, they tell you, can take it and dump it in the ditch, and it will biodegrade and be gone. And yet, there are a lot of the teams out there that want to utilize that product. It's that good.
That's another interesting one too, Brian, because originally when the G-Oil car took to the grid at Sebring, they were the only ones that were actually using the G-Oil in their LMPC car, but they decided, you know, we have an advantage with this biodegradable oil. We don't want to have that advantage in a spec class like this, so if any of our competitors want to use the G-Oil, we're just going to give it to them. So there are a couple of teams that have taken them up on that right now, but certainly a great product that's used in those cars.
And think of the advantages with all the ditches I've been in my years.
Yeah, look at this though, Dorsey. This is sensational. Andy Lally's got a good run in traffic. He is all over the back of Blake and gets a great run and takes the lead
easily
in GTC.
It looked like Jerome had a problem there at the downhill.
Well,
they did.
Either that or Jerome knew that he was snookered and lifted. This is one of the things you do at Lima. Lifted to make the pass up clean. Oh, the 17 is backed into the wall.
It's Brian Sellers behind the wheel. Is that at the exit?
That's like pitted. No,
that's
up in
into
the
West
I
Bend
went
chicane.
to the brake and it didn't slow down at first.
Ryan talking about a brake problem. Car doesn't look too bad though, boys.
Well, he might have got to slow down most of the speed out of the car by the time he got to the tires.
No fuel. Be ready. Have a look at the back.
These tire walls here do a great job. We'll see the end of what happened here. It's got a little muffler damage and exhaust damage there, but I don't think this car's really hurt.
From here it doesn't really look so bad, but we'll see when we get in. Might have got a little exhaust to the diffuser.
Take a look here, just seeing as he's backing in to the wall. You heard him report early brake. The brake didn't slow the car down, then it did.
Interesting. Saw the cosmetic damage to the back. Remember the huge problem they had in Salt Lake.
Well, you know, sometimes you get piston knocked back on the calipers where you'll hit a bump or use a curb.
This
is
Salt
the
Lake
problem
City.
from Salt Lake City, whole different.
Today's issue is small compared to this one. Sellers out of the car, the flames right there at his back. Does a good job. He did pull the fire extinguisher, but he wasn't sure that he had everything shut off and that he had pulled it. So he went back in. That's a pretty brave move. The fire crew finally gets there and gets the fire put out, but they had to completely rebuild the back of that car overnight and get it back on track.
They did a tremendous job that weekend to get the car back out for the race, and looks like there's not too much damage. There's a little bit of rear quarter panel damage, so Brian takes it back out with some fresh tires and see what he can do now.
But one thing we didn't talk about is this. We talked about yesterday the rain all day long. Well, today's been a beautiful day. We knew there was rain in the area. Here we are.
Where?
In the area.
Where are we?
We're somewhere in here.
Nice job, Dust.
About 28 minutes left to go, and they say the weather's on its way, Chris.
Yeah, Brian, they're saying maybe rain in the next 5 minutes. I felt a couple drops a couple minutes ago. I've been looking at weather radar that the teams have, and a cell just kind of fired up directly to our west. It's a pretty small cell, so if it does come through and drop a bunch of rain on us, it should be dry on the back side of us. But they're saying anywhere the next 5 to 10 minutes, we might get pretty wet.
One thing that we saw in qualifying yesterday, the Muscle Milk team decided not to change from their dry setup when it rained. So Klaus Graf, if he does have to throw some wets on there, will essentially have the same car that he had in qualifying, whereas Brabham and the Highcroft team went for a full wet setup, so they'll be dealing with something a little bit differently.
Talk about dealing with something differently. Look at the wing post on the back of the 6 car. There's something
wrapped around
it. And while
it's
looks
carbon,
like a piece
fiber.
of carbon fiber.
Yeah, it's a big piece of carbon off of somebody's car that got trapped around the up post there.
Now, it's not going to have a huge change on the car, but that will affect the way the air flows underneath that car, and it will marginally affect some of the rear downforce.
Brian, actually that piece has been there for about 15 or 20 laps. The team approached me and said, hey, can you guys shoot it for us because we know something is there. So obviously it's not affecting the performance that much because Graf still has close to a 15-second lead.
Well, it won't fall off until they slow down.
Yeah, a lot.
This isn't a really slow racetrack. It's actually a very fast racetrack. That corner we just saw is the slowest, and it's still like 60 some odd plus mile per hour. So you can imagine sticking your hand out the window at 60, and that big old piece of carbon fiber is not going anywhere for a while.
Last time across the line, David Brabham had brought the gap down to just under 15 seconds. At one point, it was up to 21 seconds. Here he comes through the downhill. And traffic really is going to create an ebb and flow to this gap as he now flashes across the stripe. And he brings it down just a few more tenths. 14.3 seconds is the margin between David Brabham and the leader of this race.
Far from settled here at Lime Rock. Just about 26 minutes to go. Weather on the way. Who be able to run on slicks if it gets damp? Who will have to change? It is far from over from here at Lime Rock Park. We said it's a bull ring. The competition's going to go all the way to the checkered flag. Indeed it is. And the fans, well, the drivers, they're hot. The fans enjoying a good one here at the park, as is Alex Figge. Well, if you're looking for the latest stats and results from the track, stay informed using Speed's comprehensive American Le Mans stats package for the latest practice, qualifying reports, race results, and driver standings. Get more at the ALMS section of Speed.com. The most important stat right now is on the lens of some of our onboard cameras as you watch Klaus Graf work by only about 6.2 seconds between Graf and David Brabham, and I'm starting to see raindrops on some of the onboard cameras.
That is huge. 6 seconds is the lead margin now. It was 14 seconds, less than 5 minutes ago. And look at the GT battle as well. That's Pat Long now feeling the heat from the BMWs.
Here comes Brabham back in the picture. He's making up time fast because of traffic.
No blocking. They've
Look at the rain on the screen there.
Penalty, no blocking.
Telling Pat Long there, do not block, do not block. So he is feeling the pressure. He said the tires have gone away a little bit on him, and now it has got really slick through that section there. You can see it. This is
contact.
the two BMWs. We're on board with Oberlin. Joey Hand right behind him.
Calvin just checked in with Tommy Sadler on the Flying Lizard 45, and Tommy's saying there is no issue with that car. It's just the traffic out here is just driving these drivers crazy, so he's trying to calm his driver down. He said Patrick is just getting really fired up out there, and we've got to get him calmed down. And guys, the rain is coming down.
Yeah, but we also heard radio communication that Pat Long said it's not the driver, it's the car. So he's feeling something different. He seems to have lost the balance and the sweet spot a little bit. So even though Tommy Sadler feels the car is perfect, Pat cannot get the hammer down like he could earlier.
Wow, slow car in front here. It's going to stack everybody up.
Brabham, I think, now beginning to make riskier moves than he has in the past. Let's take a look at just how congested it was up in the West Bend chicane.
Watch the two BMWs here. As the stack up occurs, they are making contact. They just bump.
A little rub there.
This is what it looks like. I got busted like this one time.
No, I didn't hit him. I didn't hit
him.
Really.
Touch him. I didn't.
No.
Kissed him. And it knocked this little piece of whatever that carbon fiber shard thing was off the back of the other BMW. Now that rain, boys, watch this. It's going to get to be really a skating rink.
Well, and there's still good grip on one end of the racetrack, and then up in the chicane there is not. And one of the things the guys were saying the other day, it is very slick in the chicanes in the rain.
Brian, all these drivers talking to their teams right now. Hey, give us rain reports. Give us rain reports. How hard is this stuff coming down? Because at speed, it looks like it's coming down a lot harder than it really is. And there's so much heat in the track right now that as it hits the track, it's evaporating pretty quick. So as long as we don't get some really big drops and a downpour, I think this thing could potentially still stay dry here because this cell looks pretty small.
Yeah, quick on and off there for Ollie Gavin in the Corvette coming on the front straightaway, and you are spot on there, Chris. The key is keeping tire temperatures in the car. So if they maintain a good pace, that keeps the tires hot, that eliminates the problem you have. Once you get to that kind of lap time where you're slowing down going through the corners, it just gets worse and worse and worse. It really snowballs.
It has to rain really, really hard before you lose that temperature in the tires. As long as you got half the racetrack dry and you're being aggressive, you can drive through that rain and stay dry and stay with some good grip.
Well, they asked Mika Salo earlier if Pierre Caffer would have a car to go to the front. Right now, Pierre Caffer closing his way back, but still a lap down to Joey Hand, but he's got the pace. Can he find a way to get back on the lead lap? Look at Hand.
Oh, Joey maybe. Oh, he gets chopped. He gets chopped. Joey is wanting to get his way through here. He feels he can take it to Pat Long. Remember the sensational battle they had at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca where Pat Long got him on a restart. He wants retribution, that being Joey Hand.
Oh boy, those two BMWs, once they catch Pat, that's going to be 2 against 1 and all bets off.
And Long had said earlier about traffic, well, I thought the GT Challenge guys would be a little nicer. Now remember, all the GTC cars right now are Porsches, and they just did him a favor because James Sofronis in that GTC Porsche split the BMWs.
Joey Hand got a good run there. But Bill Oberlin used that GTC car as a pick as an LMPC car goes through.
Wow. He saw that coming and read it perfectly. He said, no, you're not going to get by me this time.
This is literally now a game of inches, well over 100 miles an hour. A little slide by Gunnar Jeanette through the left-hander, your leader in the LMP Challenge category. Alex Figge running second in that category, but right now Gunnar Jeanette leading in LMPC, and that's going to help him in that championship because your championship leader, Scott Tucker, being shown third right now in class.
It allows the Ferrari to catch up even though it's a lap down. Don't think he's not going to try to get that lap back.
Oh, absolutely. See the 40, the Ford GT.
Andrea Robertson behind the wheel right now. David, her husband, is not here this weekend. Doing a wonderful thing. He's helping some of the participants out in the Special Olympics by shuttling them backwards and forwards. Yeah, the 90 goes wide.
Got off to the outside to pass the Ford GT and got in the dirty racetrack.
Ferrari got around him. That is not for position. Remember, Kappa is a lap down.
Just another, and Robertson side by side with Hand down in turn 1 and 2.
Joey just got dirt on the tires. He's got pickup, and he can't get rid of it that quickly.
You can see those marbles accumulate around the racetrack off the racing line. When he got wide there, you get those on the tires, and suddenly you have zero grip. It's like driving on ice for a few corners.
Patrick Long right there in the 45, the silver and red Flying Lizard Porsche. Now the 61, Pierre Capra was not for position, but it moves him closer to trying to get that lap back.
Yeah,
see the team car there, and there's Bill Auberlen in the 92.
It also shows you that you cannot make an outside pass. You can't go around somebody and get in that dirty part of the racetrack.
Right now, Bill Auberlen, a good run in that BMW. You can tell the top speed of it right there, running with the LMP Challenge car down the front straightaway. But don't miss the special Falcon Tire sponsored AmericanLeMans.com web stream of the entire Mid-Ohio ALMS race on Saturday, August 7th at 3 p.m. Wall-to-wall weekend action on the series website featuring ALMS radio commentary, timing and scoring data thanks to Falcon Tire. That's AmericanLeMans.com. You ride on board with Bill Auberlen. Klaus Graf is going to try to hold on. When we come back, we're going to take you all the way to the checkered flags. It's going to be a good one right down to the end. Brabham closing in. Get more and check out all the extras at speed.com, including video highlights, expert analysis, driver blogs, photo galleries, feature stories. Get more at speed.com. American Le Mans section, or search keyword ALMS. Look at this. David Brabham has closed down on Klaus Graf. That was into the uphill chicane, and that is spectacular stuff. It was about 8 seconds just a few laps ago, less than a second right now, but we understand on radio communication, David Brabham may have a tire going down.
Yeah, Brian, listening to the team, David Brabham and Robin Hill talking about a sensor on that car, telling them that he might have a tire going down. So one of the sensors is telling him that he might have a tire going down. However, David Brabham is saying to the team, everything feels good right now, so it might be a sensor that is failing and the tire might be fine.
Brabham is flying 50.0. That's about half a second faster than we saw from this car earlier in the stint. He's right on the Taylor Graf. What irony, though. They had the lead late in the going last year and lost the win due to a puncture. Hopefully it won't happen again today.
They told him it's the right rear tire. Feel it out. Be careful, but careful isn't 50-second laps around here.
It is certainly not. Now GT traffic in the way. Klaus Graf getting aggressive to get by it. Brabham through as well.
Fortunately, most of the corners are right-handed, and if it's a right rear, it will affect the crossweight a little bit, but certainly he should be in better shape. That left-hander behind the pits, though, that will be a huge issue if it does go down.
That hurt
Klaus Graf.
Oh, in contact there with one of the GT cars.
Yeah, he hit the 48 there.
That was a really good piece of driving to save that in the wet grass over there.
You knew it was coming. Graf got hung up at the downhill behind the GT car. Brabham got the run. Graf moved him all the way to the grass, and there's some damage, I think, perhaps, to one of the dive planes on the front of the number 1, the HPD entry.
Graf has been in this car about an hour and 45 minutes. It's a long stint. He is feeling the heat from David Brabham. He was very aggressive there, Dorsey, in closing that door.
Definitely was, and that was traffic-related that stacked it up. Right to side, that right front little dive plane, one of those is loose, but it's hanging in there for right now.
And the right rear tire, more importantly, for David Brabham. Holding in, and understand, Klaus Graf is going to get a stop-and-go penalty for that move down the front straightaway. And
they're calling it blocking again. That's
and the right rear tire on David Brabham's car, I think, may have just shredded.
Tires just going down. We have
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
The sensor was correct.
This is wild. Think about this. He's got to slow down. He's got to hit pit lane. So is Klaus Graf, but this is going to cost the Highcroft team dearly. Can you believe this? 2 years in a row, a late race puncture.
Both cars are going to have to stop. For Graf, it's going to be a stop and go because he blocked. And for Brabham, they got to change a tire. It's a race on pit lane.
And the team is going to have to be telling Klaus Graf, look, get it back around here, but be careful.
We need a right rear tire. Use the right rear.
Get it back in here, do your penalty, and get on with it. Don't worry about it because our main competition has a problem.
No one else is close to these two cars, so looks like the victory will still come down to these two cars, but both cars hit pit lane with less than 11 minutes remaining.
Now, it is important to note, and we certainly do from the radio communication, that that number 1 car had that right rear tire going down for the last several laps. It was not as a factor of dropping the wheels off there on the front straightaway.
Just going by us now. We can see your new right rear.
Klaus Graf to his marks. He leaves pit lane just as David Brabham pulls onto pit road.
Maintains the lead. No one else is really in the same zip code in terms of these two front runners.
Wow.
Oh, it's got the body now too, boys. Unfortunately for the Highcroft team, they might
Probably
get away
tear
with
that
it.
wedge off. They call it a cheese or a wedge there, that piece behind the rear wheel. They'll probably just rip that off. Hopefully the bodywork is still somewhat intact other than that piece.
Trouble getting that piece on
there.
now.
They leave it on there. I'm surprised with that.
Me too, because now they can get called back in to have it removed.
They should have just snipped that off.
Heartbreak. 2 years ago, it was David Brabham around the high side of one of the Penske cars to take the win. Last year, heartbreak, but look at this. This is the move down the front straightaway.
That's the blocking penalty that was called, and I kind of,
That was hairy. That's pretty wild, 160 miles an hour. The tire, we believe, was going down, but this is a rough road right there that David Brabham has to take to. Did that create further issues with that right rear?
Well, being that was the right rear and it's all right-handed corners, this could have killed it. I mean, it might have been low, and when it went off the road there, it just popped it off the bead instantly.
We see it on board with David.
Ooh, that was just not good.
Let me ask you this. In the proximity of the 48 car, Klaus Graf moving to the right, did he know David Brabham was there before he made the move to the right?
If you look at his head, if you look at the language of Klaus Graf's head, it wasn't like he was looking in that right view mirror and made the move. Maybe you're just giving too much room to the 48 and then saw him.
Greg Pickett on the box. He had a little bit of reaction to that. I don't think he was particularly pleased with that, but it all worked out, didn't it, Jamie?
It certainly did. Greg Pickett having to serve that penalty could have been disastrous in the race, but now with the troubles with the Highcrofts, what's running through your mind?
Well, you can't imagine what's running through my mind. Yeah, I mean, two consummate professionals really having a heck of a race there for 15 or 20, almost for an hour actually. And Klaus got a little balk coming off down the hill, and so he swung out around the other traffic. And you're allowed one move theoretically, and he did that. That's really, really tough that the Highcroft's tire went down. That's a really tough deal. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes here. Those guys are really, really used to winning, and we're not. And it sure might be fun.
It certainly has gotten to be fun, but you guys did win at Sebring, so it's not like you've never won. Chris?
Duncan, this track gave you guys your first overall win 2 years ago, but now the second year in a row, a puncture looks like it's probably taken you off that top step. How deflating is that?
Well, the reason we got a puncture is because Klaus put us in the grass on the front straight. It was right side. Obviously, the car was hooked up and doing really well. David was tracking him down. We were trying to save our tires because we knew that Klaus was pushing really hard and it's really hot. So we played perfectly into our strategy and then did a Bush League move by putting us in the grass, giving us a puncture. I think it's a little unfair. IPSA tried to give him a stop and go to try to maybe equalize it, but once you got a puncture, a stop and go is going to do anything. So not exactly the right outcome in my opinion.
Some body work loose behind that right rear tire. Why wouldn't the team just pull that loose rather than let it dangle like it is?
Well, it probably is going to come off, which it has, but less time in the pits, obviously. Again, the body work is the result of Klaus's accident, so we're not too worried about it.
2 years ago, these guys got that spectacular win against Penske, but 2 years in a row now, puncher takes them potentially out of victory lane.
Well, good news is it took care of itself. That piece is missing. We'll take another look at it. Watch Klaus's head. I don't know that he knew that Brabs was there.
He's almost leaning to the left there, guys. I think you've just given a really wide berth to the 48 car. Then he felt the tap and moved back over and touched the 48 as well. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. Watch his head. He's not like looking down in that right side mirror.
Well, I tell you what, though, that could have been
disastrous.
Yeah, it could have been disastrous.
Just a terrible wreck.
Access road there, that could turn around that car at 160 miles an hour.
And I know what Duncan said, but we also have been listening to the radios, and we know that there had been a sensor issue with that right rear tire. So, yeah, I mean, coming back off the road and then back on, it certainly could have finished it off. There hadn't been a problem before it. The fact of the matter is, I guess we'll never know.
No, we won't.
Klaus Graf continues to lead, though. That we do know in the LMP category and overall in LMP Challenge. It's Gunnar Jeanette. That's good for his championship run. Alex Figge running second in LMP Challenge. That's great for the PR1 team. Gunnar out in front of LMP Challenge. Scott Tucker, who leads LMP Challenge in the Drivers' Championship, is back in third. So Gunnar's going to be able to move forward. Understand a problem for the 48 on the racetrack, but officials saying they're going to try to finish this race under green. Just about 5 minutes left, and that's going to be good. The problem is at the downhill, so Luke Hines has climbed out of the car. Let's take a look.
Well, he was off at the top. He's got something underneath the front of the car.
He's going to have no steering here in a moment. Got a piece of
it's got
his underbody has got underneath the front tires and no steering. That is a heck of a ride. That is scary.
Kidding.
I'll tell you what, though. You see the tire wall work again. Those tires are not up against the Armco. They're out from it, and it's nice to see how they do cushion that impact. Still big, still going to hurt. You're going to be sore the next day. But when they move, it certainly dissipates a lot of the energy.
That's a strange thing. That body piece got underneath there and actually lifted the front of the car high enough to make it lose front grip. The tires in the air don't steer or stop.
Tough call for the stewards. That's not an ideal spot. If anyone else goes off in that area, instead of hitting those tires, which did such a great job, they'd be into the 48 car. But meanwhile, on board with David Brabham, now trying to chase down Klaus Graf.
Well, I guarantee you Duncan Dayton's thinking that it's too dangerous. They need to bring out a full course caution, take about a lap to clean it up, and let's go at it again.
Trouble is, we only got 4 minutes on the board, so that may see us end up seeing a caution at the same time as that checkered. So right now, here we see Andy Lally, the 63 car. He is your GTC leader. We saw him make that move on Jerome Bleekmolen earlier in the event, and now he's just cruising.
Keep you up to date with the leaders in the 4 classes that are out there. You said it, Andy Lally leading for TRG. Had a great run going with Jerome Bleekmolen. That battle has tapered off a little bit, and Lally out in front in GT. Patrick Long, man, Jörg Bergmeister, 5 in a row here with the help of Patrick Long.
That's incredible.
That's impressive stuff indeed.
When you talk about that GTC battle with Andy Lally and Jerome Bleekmolen, the 54 car had to come to pit lane to change a tire. Both of those cars were originally on the same strategy that they were not going to change tires over the course of this race, but the 54 machine did have a flat come about in the front right of the car, so he had to come in, do a tire change, and that's how Andy Lally was able to get around him.
Well, whatever Pat Long was complaining about on the radio, and we heard that back and forth conversation, he has come to bear with it, and now the car is back up on song and looks like he's pulling away.
Yeah, but still only 2 seconds over the BMWs, and you got to hand it to Bobby Rahal and his group. Bill Arberlin, Joey Hand had that great run. They really didn't beat on each other, a little rubbing here and there, but they're still having a great run. Patrick Long slips up at all. Both of those BMWs are there ready to pounce. And what a great job, not only for BMW and that team, for Dunlop, who's really come along with the tire. I think the biggest problem with that car last year was that tire, finding one that would last over a stint and be good. And right now, they certainly have found it.
Yeah, they're continuing to grind. They keep developing the car. New aero kit on this weekend. I really feel Joey Hand has the slightly faster car this weekend. Oh! Didn't cost him any time. That's the good news. He's still chasing down his teammate Billy Orblin, but he has the fastest race lap in GT this day, 55.94, which is marginally quicker than Ollie Gavin, who's also flying in the Corvette. But of course, he lost that lap with a penalty to Olivier Beretta.
Cannot be too careful here at Lime Rock. There's just cars attacking you from everywhere.
Well, and even on the last lap, you cannot be too careful. We talk about no name straight. It's not straight, as you see David Brabham work around the outside of Joey Hand through the left-hander. That's no name straight. That's not straight.
That's why I say I got a name for it. Not.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
straight.
It's
29 seconds is the gap that David Bradman's trying to chase down, and that is just too much, obviously, with a couple of laps to go. Devastating blow.
Just coming up on a minute and a half left in round 5. Remember the emotional victory that this team had at Sebring in the P2 category, giving Greg Pickett the victory there. It was great to see, and it was one that was welcomed up and down the pit lane. It was Klaus Graf, Greg Pickett, and Sasha Maassen that day. It was impressive stuff, and it has showed just how strong that team is with that Porsche RS Spyder. 25 kilos less than the Acura HPD entry, and perhaps that weight a bit of an advantage here this weekend as well. Klaus Graf through the downhill, down the front straightaway. The white flag should wave this time by.
Well, 25 kilos certainly makes a difference as he sees that white flag. One more lap to go. But I tell you what's amazed me here today is the mileage that that HPD engine has got in the #1 machine, Dorsey. I mean, they have really stretched the fuel incredibly well. Would have been a one-stopper other than the trip to pit lane for the puncture.
Surprised all of us. That added weight, or the subtracted weight, I should say, is equivalent to 55 pounds of weight, and that is significant in one of these cars.
Klaus Graf trying to bring Porsche in the RS Spyder its second overall victory here at Lime Rock. It was done back in 2007 as well. Just about a half a lap to go. Graf now through West Bend chicane, the left, then down the hill through the right-hander at the bottom of the hill, and the checker flag will await. Klaus Graf, Greg Pickett, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series in 2010, down the front straightaway. Graf with his fist in the air, and victory to the Muscle Milk team. Greg Pickett, Klaus Graf take win number 2 of the season. They won the P2 category at Sebring, and they'll take the overall victory here, the LMP victory at Lime Rock Park.
Fantastic result. What a drive by Klaus Graf. He will surely wish that he didn't have that incident. Oh, this is the leader in LMPC.
Is it out of fuel, I wonder?
Remember, they had some gearbox issues earlier in the weekend.
Let's stop.
Patrick Long flashes across the line. He takes the victory. And that is huge for Patrick Long and Jörg Bergmeister, not just for the win today, the championship. Remember, you see Jörg Bergmeister getting congratulations. They lost the Drivers' Championship lead at Salt Lake City to Jamie Mello and Jimmy Bruni, and they have taken it back here with the great drive that they have had. 5 wins in a row for Jörg Bergmeister here at Lime Rock Park. The problems for Jimmy Bruni and Jamie Mello, that is going to hand the championship lead back to Jörg Bergmeister.
Right now we're showing that Gunnar Jeanette has still clinched the LMPC
so he must have been
class win.
Just over a lap ahead.
There he is. I think he's rolled it down the hill.
He's running it on the starter is what he's doing. See his left hand up there?
Yep. He'll get her home.
So Gunnar Jeanette will take the win in very interesting style as he comes to pit in. Klaus Graf will celebrate with Greg Pickett. It was a great one from Lime Rock Park. We knew it would be. Patrick Long, Jörg Bergmeister, what a run they had. Congratulations to TRG. We'll be back. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Racing Radios, the official radio communications provider of the American Le Mans Series. Lime Rock Park is only 1.5 miles long, but it never fails. It never disappoints. Look at the battle here. Pickett and Graf take the victory, and it was an exciting one, and I'm sure Klaus Graf is exhausted, Jamie.
He certainly looks exhausted, getting his hat on, cooling off right now. Klaus Graf, fabulous stint for you, able to really close the gap on the Highcroft car. But that penalty at the end of the race, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I understand that, and it was tough racing. I mean, I had to move over because of the GT cars there, and David tried to sneak too. I actually didn't think he was that close. So we made contact, and I mean, I'm sorry that it ended the way it is, but I mean, it's hard racing, and he would have done the same thing probably. I had to move over because of the GT cars, and what a day. I mean, I'm tired right now. I pushed as hard as I could, and the team pushed me to the limit. But I mean, our muscle milk car did awesome. Our Michelin tire is fantastic, and I couldn't be happier for this man here.
Second win of the season, Chris.
Well, Jörg Bergmeister goes 5 in a row at Lime Rock, and he and Patrick Long will share the GT point lead. Patrick, when those BMWs were right behind you, we heard some panic in your voice on the radio. What was going on?
Yeah, there were a few key players out there that weren't making my life easy. The BMWs were fast today. We had a little bit of a better strategy, and I think I wanted it a little bit more, but I was a little too excited. I apologize to the team. I was just trying to get them to help me with the traffic. Thank you to East Silicon, Shortell, Open Wave. These guys make it possible for the Lizards to sustain this level of racing, and they are the best.
Great job, guys.
Well, we got our answer from Klaus Graf. There's a look at the GT results. Bergmeister, 5 in a row at Lime Rock. Wow, that is impressive, especially as close as it was here. And for Patrick Long to get a little upset in the car, as cool and calm a customer as he is, it shows how difficult it was.
Well, that's what Lime Rock is all about. It will get you frustrated. I mean, it's very difficult when you're in traffic and you suddenly see a massive lead eroded like that, Dorsey.
Unfortunately, not a great day for Team Corvette again. Of course, they're one of our favorites, and we love the guys there. They're struggling this year, and you know, just luck has not been on their side.
I tell you, the fans on the hill certainly got a good one today. As I said, it never fails to disappoint here at Lime Rock Park, and the fans aren't even going anywhere. Take a look at GTC results. Henri Richard, Andy Lally, great run there, and another one of those tire punctures. That's what got Jerome Bleekemolen and Tim Pappas. Otherwise, they could have gone 3 in a row.
Yeah, that was a great head-to-head battle going on there. We saw Bleekemolen subtly bobble there going through the downhill and ultimately had to visit pit lane.
You see most of these cars out here got all kind of body damage, but you look at Andy Lally's car and some of these guys in the C category, not a mark on them.
And for Elton Julian and Gunnar Jeanette in the 99 and LMP Challenge, they take another victory, and they better be glad they had the right strategy to get a lap up or they wouldn't have won.
I think Figgy may have been right behind Graf and didn't get that extra lap he needed to get the win.
Talk about Gunnar Jeanette, he's down on pit road. Finally.
Real quick before we go to commercial, Gunnar Jeanette, big smile, but you ran out of fuel at the end?
Yeah, that's definitely cutting it close. Our engineer, Mark Schoman, calculated it what he considered perfectly, but we didn't actually cross the checkered. So I would maybe want like a quarter more of a lap.
Quarter more of a lap or not, they still won the race, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter by how much. You still got the job done, and that's good. Once again, we're on this championship run, remember, towards the end of the season. That's going to be good for them. Fans came out. It was great. It's going to be great for Mid-Ohio, too. You can catch it as it airs Sunday, August 15th on CBS. Then we're back with you to the championship run from Road America. That's where it'll start right here on Speed. Up next, IHRA Nitro Jam Drag Racing. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, Jamie Howe, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us here on Speed. Round 5 of the American Le Mans Series Championship is in the books. There's plenty more to come.